Too bad. Maybe if Shannon made me one of those coffees there, you're well treated, I'll tell you.
Well, I make the coffee in the afternoon. Other
Really?
people make it during the morning. That's the way it works.
Okay. I wonder, does she make the coffee for Lee, does she?
To Philly, she makes it's worse for Lee. It's ginger tea or something like that.
I do know I'm making myself and so.
All right, listen, take care of yourself. Chat to you again tomorrow morning. All right, it is at 9 o'clock. Let's get a news update, and it's over to Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. There are calls for meaningful dialogue as Stormont parties prepare to meet with Secretary of State Chris Heaton-Harris. The talks will focus on the North's finances, public services, and the possibility of re-establishing the executive. Talks between the UK government and the DUP still haven't reached an end point, and Alliance MP Stephen Farry says he wants to see the momentum increase.
We do have a sense of some sort of deadline in that we're coming to the end of the calendar year, and also we know in early January the executive formation legislation expires, so that in itself is some form of watershed where if we don't have restoration by then, the government will have to either renew that or do something else. So hopefully that will be focusing minds.
Higher Education Minister Simon Harris has announced a project to boost apprenticeships. €17 million in funding is being allocated to the higher education sector in order to meet demand, with the highest allocation going to the Atlantic Technological University. A number of places are being opened up at the ATU Letterkenny campus in metal fabrication, refrigeration and electrical engineering. Donegal County Council is to explore the possibility of developing a marine safety initiative similar to the Road Safety Roadshow, which has been attended by thousands of transition year students in the county. The suggestion was made by Councillor Martin McDermott, who says he was struck by the fact that a recent rescue in Lough was triggered by the fact that one of the people on a sinking boat was wearing a life jacket with a built-in sensor, and it sparked an alarm at the Malin Head Coast Guard station. A search was then started with the signal pinpointing the sinking boat's location. Councillor McDermott says it could have been very different, and this is a story that needs to be told.
Malin Head Coast Guard was able to send the rescue services to that exact position, and I think that's something that we should be pushing here. We have a lot of visitors that come here and go out on boats on a Saturday or a Sunday in the good weather, and we should be pushing the fact that no one should be going onto the water without having a life jacket that's registered and that can send a signal in if something happens, because we would never push anybody to get into the car and not put on a seat belt. It should be the same thing when it comes to the water.
A local business owner in Leitrim says the roof of his premises was shredded by a mini tornado yesterday. A clean-up continues this morning in the village after a freak weather incident swept him during Storm Fergus. A number of buildings and cars were severely damaged. Minor injuries were reported. Seamus Gibbons is the owner of Electric Bike Trails.
This mini tornado literally swept across from east to west and through the village and just took everything inside across the road from me. It took the middle of a house. The roof clean off seemed to sweep up along the back of the local pub and came across my place, and it just literally shredded the roof. And it's a big roof, it had to be made safe last night.
Mainly dry with sunny spells this morning. Rain developing in the west in the late afternoon. That'll spread eastwards across the region, turning heavy in places. It'll clear early tonight in highest temperatures of 7 or 8 degrees Celsius with freshening south to southeast winds. That's Highland Radio News. You can check all the day's news on our website, highlandradio.com. We're back with news again at 10 o'clock.
This Christmas, it's the perfect time to let loved ones know how much they mean to you. And nothing shows love at Christmas quite like Post. And don't forget, the last day for posting parcels to Europe is Thursday, 14th of December. Send from the heart. On Post. For your world. T's and C's apply.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest, The 9 till Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning to you. It's the start of another week here on the 9 till Noon Show. It is just approaching 4 minutes past 9 on this Monday, the 11th of December 2023, 2 weeks today. The big man arrives. If you've all been very good, so that means we don't have much long left of the year, does it? Excellent. Okay, we have plenty coming up on this show today. Some really interesting, important items we have to discuss, and we want you involved by listening, of course, in the first instance, but getting involved with your texts, your calls, your comments, WhatsApps and texts to 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000, or give us a call on 07491 25,000, and emails coming to us at comments@highlandradio.com. So if there's anything you want to talk about, anything that you came across at the weekend, let us know, and we'll share it with the Northwest and, of course, beyond online. Okay. The front of the papers and inside some of them today. The Derry People Donegal News. 1 year on from Private Sean Rooney's death, family, friends and comrades lined his graveside for a wreath-laying ceremony at the Church of All Saints, Newtown, Cunningham, yesterday. Private Rooney was killed in Lebanon in December last year. The 34-year-old from Newtown, Cunningham, was killed as he drove an armoured jeep away from a crowd of attackers in the south of the country. At the ceremony, members of the Irish United Nations Veterans Association formed as the chair, Jim O'Hagan, welcomed Sean's family to the commemoration. The Derry News this morning: I tend to just avoid the town. That's the quote from a wheelchair user. A Derry man who uses a wheelchair said he's forced to avoid the city due to the lack of access for disabled people. Tommy Cairns has been a wheelchair user his whole life. He has cerebral palsy, which affects his mobility. He also works with a major disability group in the city. Tommy says he has real difficulty walking, especially any kind of distance. He gets fatigued easily, saying it takes somebody with cerebral palsy 5 times more energy than somebody without to complete a task. And he's complaining that there is not enough accessibility for a wheelchair user. The Irish Times this morning, and there was a lot of speculation about cutting benefits for newly arrived Ukrainians, and it seems the Cabinet is going to agree on that this week. Ministers are set to approve large reductions in benefits for refugees coming from Ukraine in future as accommodation pressures for other nationalities claiming asylum here worsens. The Cabinet Committee on Ukraine is scheduled to meet today, where the proposal from Minister for Integration, Roderick O'Gorman, including cutting welfare benefits for future Ukrainian arrivals and providing accommodation for only 90 days, are expected to be discussed by ministers before going to the full Cabinet tomorrow. But campaigners for refugees warned against the move last night, with the Irish Refugee Council saying it was putting short-term deterrence over long-term planning, adding that people would find it difficult, if not impossible, to find accommodation once the 90 days had run out. And I suppose now it's to be very clear, this is for new arrivals, so it doesn't mean that if someone currently is in accommodation here from Ukraine that they will have their payments cut. They'll retain their payments, and it doesn't mean that they have 90 days, as far as I'm aware, to get out of their accommodation. This is for new arrivals, and the government have been pretty frank about it. They've said that we have a situation whereby you have refugees arriving in some parts of Europe and then going, right, well, things are different in Ireland, we'll go there. So secondary sort of arrivals. Well, sources in all 3 government parties said yesterday that they expected the plans to be agreed this week, though it was stressed that they would not apply to the 100,000 existing Ukrainian refugees in Ireland, only to further arrivals. And it's costing in the region of 1.8 million, 1.9 million a day. To host and look after Ukrainian refugees. So they want to limit that as much as possible, seemingly. On to the Irish Independent now. And children's anxiety about tests increases as they progress through primary school, according to a major new study. The 6th report in the Children's School Live series, a groundbreaking study into the lived experiences of school children, has found that by 4th class, children had started to report higher levels of test anxiety. A third of children interviewed between 2nd class in 2019 and 6th class in 2023 said they typically felt anxious before and after standardised tests over their performance. Anxiety was often connected to a sense of failure or element of surprise. But I mean, obviously, if when you're at school or in anywhere in life, you know, if you're studying or if you're working, there are points where you get judged on what you're doing. And you're going to feel an emotion, and that emotion obviously is going to be anxious. You're going to be anxious as to whether you do well. You're going to be anxious as if you don't do well. I think does that not help form who we are? I'm not sure if they're sort of suggesting that we need to limit this. But the latest report in the immersive and longitudinal, what's that word? Longitudinal research project focused on the experiences of primary school children had with curriculum and assessments from 2019 to 2023. The study, which covered nearly 200 schools in Ireland, also heard the views of teachers, parents, grandparents and principals. So I look forward to reading that in a little bit more detail, because I don't think we can insulate ourselves, be it as adults or children, completely from stress and anxiety. It's how we manage it, I think, is quite critical. The Irish Daily Mail has quite an important warning, and it's a tough one to hear, and it kind of is tough, I think, for anyone who's got a new baby, particularly in that, you want to, especially at this time of year, RSV's on the spread, you want to limit the possibility of them catching it. But of course, if you do have a new baby, and congratulations out there if you do, it's kind of a difficult one, isn't it? Because people call around and, maybe they want to give the baby a kiss, or they want to hold the baby and, goochie goo into its face. And it can be quite awkward for people, because they find it difficult to sort of say, if you don't mind, how do you have that conversation? Is that something that you've come across, something you've experienced, a difficulty for you, or maybe you have a good way of sort of saying to people that you want the baby to have a bit of space, or maybe you think some people will say, babies need to get germs, but on newborn babies you have to be really careful. But any experience or insight into this? 086 60 25,000. But doctors then have warned grandparents not to visit newborns this Christmas, as the spread of the RSV has resulted in up to 100 babies being admitted to intensive care in the past 6 weeks. Now, I'm going to read on and dig in about this, but I really find it hard to believe that doctors are warning grandparents not to visit newborns this Christmas. But anyway, that's what the article says. The potential fatal lung disease can have serious consequences for people aged 65 and over. Dr. Martina Healy, an intensive care consultant at Crumlin Children's Hospital, said if babies are less than 4 months old, grandparents are better off parking it for a few weeks and waiting to see their grandchildren. The calls were echoed by the Irish Medical Council, which advised that relatives should avoid kissing or cuddling babies under 6 months. I don't see any problem with that, but not visiting them at all. The warning comes as doctors are struggling to find enough intensive care beds. Dr. Healy also warned parents, if you have a small baby, don't have visitors in your house. The elderly can also get RSV. It's not just kids. People over 65 and 70 also get RSV and can be really sick with it. But if you have a small baby, we should be saying to parents, you should be limiting the amount of visitors and practicing common sense. The pneumonia-type disease can prove fatal in the worst cases among very young children. And RSV is the most common case of bronchiolitis in children aged under 2. Typically, case numbers peak in January. I think, again, often, though, what we talk about is parents trusting their guts and grandparents too. But what do you think about that? 086 60 25,000. The Irish Daily Star tells us today that the mother of the 5-year-old girl stabbed in Dublin says she's still fighting, as the chief suspect is set to be arrested within days. The girl was left critically injured by a man with a knife in an attack that also saw 2 other children and a creche worker stabbed on November 23 outside Gaelscoil Kalashimura on Parnell Square East in Dublin's city centre. And now, in a fresh update to a GoFundMe fundraiser, the girl's mother revealed she hopes she will be moved out of ICU and onto a ward by the end of the year, which is good news, isn't it? Our little girl is a warrior, she says. She is still fighting. She remains in the PICU with hopes of moving to the ward before the end of the year. Because you might remember that some people, often grifting, trying to make out that poor wee child was deceased and was part of some sort of a government cover-up, but according to her own mother, hopefully she will be out of intensive care before the end of the year. Amazing and shocking scenes from County Leitrim over the weekend as a tornado tore through Leitrim as Storm Fergus barrelled in yesterday. Roofs were blown off houses and 20 to 30 cars as well as boats in the marina were damaged as the freak weather event hit Leitrim village around lunchtime yesterday. Terrifying video captured debris flying through the air as the area was engulfed in a strong wind. Trees near the canal can be seen being whipped back and forth in the gusts, and a video of the aftermath shows wood from trees and outdoor furniture that had smashed into a car windscreen. Another car's rear window was smashed and covered in thick layers of mud that had been whipped up by the tornado, a mini tornado, but thankfully no one was injured. But it's horrendous scenes there. And if we're talking about that later on, I might try and get some of that footage so those watching the show can see the extent of it. And lastly, the Irish Daily Mirror. Support for the abolition of 1 and 2 cent coins is growing in Ireland, apparently. 7 out of 10 of you now in favour of doing away with the smaller value euro currency. A survey for the European Commission said 2/3 of citizens in the area support withdrawing the coins and applying mandatory rounding of pricing. I thought we already had mandatory rounding up and down. The results show 70% of Irish people are in favour of getting rid of the euros. 2 smaller denominations, up 5 percentage points since a similar survey in 2022. The bottom line is though I don't really see them to have any feelings about it one way or another. Anyway, that was a run through some of the front page and inside stories in the newspapers. We'll be back with more on the 9 till noon show after this quick break. Stay right where you are.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra Mountaintop Letterkenny, the 2022 C-Store National Off Licence of the Year.
Chanel, Flowerbomb, Lancôme, Giorgio Armani, Paco Rabanne. Where else but at McGee's Chemist, Letterkenny, this Christmas. Sponsors of today's 9 till noon show.
Enhance your skills with SafeTech's part-funded training programs. At SafeTech, we provide courses including first aid, roadworks, people moving and handling, confined spaces, electrofusion and machinery training for Ireland and UK sites. Also online programs such as water hygiene, construction supervisors, safety reps and much more. If you have a group for training, SafeTech will go to you. Contact SafeTech today at safetech.ie and take the first step towards upskilling and safety compliance.
Discover the ultimate experience in the spa orchids at the Holyrood Hotel Bundoran with our tranquil Japanese-themed garden, rejuvenating massages, revitalizing facials, luxurious spa baths, pampering body treatments, not forgetting the outdoor hot tub and sauna in our secret garden. Visit on a luxury spa day, pop in for some me time, or buy the perfect present with a gift voucher. Relax and let the spa orchids transport you to another world. For more, see holyroodhotel.com.
Make their Christmas electric with gifts from Currys. Get the Nintendo Switch OLED with Mario Kart 8 and 3-month online membership for only €349. Or save €50 on the Samsung Galaxy Watch 4 with Bluetooth connection, now only $179. Shop in store or online at currys.ie.
Hiya gang, it's me, Silly Billy from Jack and the Beanstalk, the biggest panto in all the land. I can't wait for you to join me and my friends at the Millennium Forum from the 30th of November until the 31st of December. Book now at millenniumforum.co.uk and start practicing your silly faces. Sponsored by the Richmond Centre.
Give the gift of Redcastle Hotel and Spa to your loved ones this Christmas. Choose from a range of memorable experiences to suit all. Visit our website to view and purchase our gift voucher offers and experiences, including our winter getaway offer from only €125 per couple. For more information, see redcastlehoteldonegal.com.
The winner takes all at the Cope Dunlow's Christmas Advent Countdown. Spend over €50 in any of the Cope stores from now until December 23rd for your chance to win the entire contents of the Advent calendar, worth over €3,000. T's and C's apply. See in store for details and for daily Advent reveals. See the Cope Dunlow on Facebook.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
Okay, the time now is 18 minutes past 9. And we are joined in studio by Harry. Harry, how are you getting on?
Not too bad, Greg. Thanks.
Thank you so much for joining us, Harry. And we were speaking on this programme last week and the week before to some extent about the scourge of drugs effectively and the pressure it places on families as well, because it was mentioned at a recent meeting that, you know, younger people or other members of the family regardless of their age, are finding themselves deep in drugs debts. The threats start, and next thing you know, they're having to go to the credit union to borrow money. Some people having to remortgage houses. I mean, you are a former drug addict, so I mean, you would have thought, yeah, I can see how that can happen. Is that sort of how you were feeling listening to it, or?
Definitely, Greg, yeah. I could relate to what was being said, you know, as a former drug addict. It's the family, that my family suffered more with me, more so my mother, my father, because of the trauma you bring to the family and the crisis with stealing. I was an intravenous heroin addict, started taking drugs at 15, and I didn't
let's
wait.
start there and we'll move through. So, like, at the age of 15, how did you come across drugs? Or
Well, I would have been a runner, and I knocked about on the estate with a gang in London, and cannabis came along, and I said I must try that. I was very easily led, and that's how that was the gateway drug to my becoming addicted to drugs. And I liked the effect of it. And then
were you escaping something like that
time?
Oh
God, I would have been traumatised very badly as a child. I don't want to go into it here.
No, that's okay.
I've had professional help for it, but definitely, yeah. Basically, what I was doing was suppressing the pain and the hurt and the anger and all the feelings that were hurtful. And when I started to take drugs, it did work for a certain period of time. It numbed it all. But then there's a song by The Verve, the older people remember, the drugs don't work, but eventually they stopped working. But a lot of people suffered as a consequence of my drug addiction, predominantly my mother, because she would have backed me up, you know. But things went missing, you know. When you need money for Class A drugs, I'm only speaking about myself, things would go missing and I'd be dishonest. And totally against the way I was reared. I come out of good people, like. But once I got into the heroin, that was good night Vienna.
And I've spoken to parents before that, you know, that the child that they know disappears almost and replaced by someone else, it seems, in the space of a month or two once they get into an addiction. That's something you can recognise as well, I presume, and it's clear. You know, you're very conscious of the impact of all of this on your mother. It was you think that's what she experienced, that her Harry went to be replaced by another Harry, so to speak.
Definitely. As time went on, I was changing and couldn't be trusted. She wouldn't believe a word I said, like, you know, because it was all lies. And just for the need, I would tell lies. I need money for this, I need money for that. And then I would get in trouble with the police. I started getting bothered with the police. And things my mother's never been near a police station or had the police to the house. Then the police would start calling, looking for me. And, you know, the things my mother had to put up with were, you know, caused me a great deal of hurt and shame myself, but I kept driving on because the need for drugs was that great that it didn't matter. I just took and took and took. Yeah. And whoever I could take it off, I would take it off, you know?
Yeah, but in the beginning, Harry, as a young 14, 15-year-old, I mean, you were a victim because they would have seen, you know, that you could be exploited, that, you know what I mean, that you would, if they started peddling you drugs, that you would become a regular customer, and who's to say however else they could exploit you. I mean, 14 or 15 years of age, and they would have seen in you, yeah, presumably, which is sad.
Well, that would have been with the cannabis smoking, but I remember when I was 15, I saw this guy, and he was a second-hand car dealer, about 27, and he was injecting a drug called Diconol. I don't think it's on the market anymore. And I looked at the state he was in, and this is how insane it is. I looked at him, I said, geez, I'd like to be that out of my head. And I said, go on, give us a go of that. And he was injecting it. He says, no, I couldn't give you a whole one. I said, well, give me a half of one. And he gave me a half of one. But I was on cloud 9, but I didn't have any worries for that. You're always chasing that initial buzz. No effect of drug ever was like that one. Yeah. But you chase it. I chased it.
And just before we move on, you know, as you say, you started with cannabis, so very quickly, obviously, you were exposed to really strong drugs and opiates and what have you. And it's a personal opinion, and it's not to whip up any sort of debate or controversy, though we're open to that. Like, do you think the likes of cannabis is a gateway drug, generally speaking, or do you think because of sort of the masking that you were doing that it was always going to be a gateway drug for you?
I believe it. For me, it was a gateway drug, but there's people that can take a few puffs and leave it.
Same as booze. Then,
same as booze, yeah. There's the social drug takers, but for me, I was addict man from day one. But the thing about this is the only disease, I believe it is a disease. It's the only disease that tells you don't have it. I know now about the disease concept of addiction because I studied it and I've worked in this field for over 20 years. But I didn't know back then, I just weren't sure of... I just was taking it to keep me away from the hurt and the pain.
So fast forward to 18 then, at this point, you're heading into a 4-year heroin addiction.
Yeah.
An expensive drug, is it?
I was spending, back then, that was 1980, it was costing me 70 sterling a day, yeah.
How were you funding it?
Mainly stealing and, basically theft and robberies and all kinds of stuff.
And in your head at that time, are you out of it, or do you justify, because you say it's against how you were raised by your mum, right? So do you even think about, I'm going to commit this crime, the impact on someone else, but I have to do it because I have to feed this drug addiction, or is it all just a blur, or what is going through one's mind when they feel that they have to steal to feed this drug addiction?
Well, it's the fear of withdrawals. When I was coming down off it, the withdrawals are terrible from it, It's like the flu times 20.
Yeah.
So once I started to get ill, that's when the consequences happened, because the sicker I got, the more I needed the money and the more things I would do to get the money. So really it's basically the sickness that drove me on, because I had that period of drug use, and then when I come to Ireland in the 90s, I was using heroin again for about a year, not even a year. But I was going to Ballymena, a rough area. They were politically motivated, different religion to me. But I used to go into the house and I would sit in that house maybe for 2 hours. The lights were out, there were bars up on the door, there were bulletproof windows. But I was that desperate because I was sick, so I sat and nothing really mattered, to be honest with you, Greg. I sat for 2 hours because I needed to get me hit, if you know what I mean, yeah?
And so... then how do you... Because it's like one addiction follows another for you. It's been a tough old going for you, Harry. But so at age 22, did you move away? How did you break the first sort of grip heroin had on you?
I moved from London to Ireland, you see. But there were no drugs back then. There weren't so many drugs years ago. I'm going back a long time. But drink became my next drug, alcohol. So I became alcoholic,
Yeah,
so
okay.
It was drink. I moved the goalpost from drug taking to drinking alcohol.
So was you replacing one with the other?
Definitely,
really, to some extent?
I'm dual addicted.
And how long did... how long... I mean, you're always addicted to alcohol, of course, but, you're sort of in your 20s now. You're in the north at this point.
I'm in the north. I'm in my 20s. The troubles were going on too, so you had to be careful.
Yeah.
But you see, when you're on that, excuse me, when you're on that drug, you don't care. I didn't care if I got shot because I didn't value life that much, really.
It's amazing sometimes that you're still here.
I got it. And most of the boys I know from London or here, even in Ireland, in Derry, most of them died from ODing and that. So I do believe that I'm here for a reason. I've no doubt about that, because I should be gone long ago. Some of the handlings I got into, I couldn't talk about them on radio, but
yes,
I've no doubt about it. So I'm not a religious person, but I do believe my mother prayed for me and my aunts prayed for me all the time, and I believe in the power of prayer, and I believe that's what was happening. That's what kept me alive. I believe that.
So you had the heroin addiction, then you switched to alcohol, then there was a relapse of sorts then with the heroin then?
Yeah, because I stopped drinking in 97 and I haven't had a drink a day at a time since 97, and I took drugs in for about a year, and I stopped me drugging on the 19th of December 1999, and I remember the millennium because I spent it in Grandshire Hospital in Derry. I was drying out from cold turkey. They didn't give you nothing back then. So it was cold turkey, and I remember the millennium like it was yesterday. I never forget it, It was a hard time, but I knew then that the party was over. I've had enough. I was done. See, the thing about drugs and alcohol for me is I don't stop them; they stop me. That was my experience, and I'd had enough of it. I really had enough of it.
So, what was the actual tipping point to say, right, I've had enough of heroin. I've had enough of booze. You know.
I just knew there was a better life. See, I had been to AA meetings and I'd heard that in the rooms, you know, that there's a better way, there's a solution, you know. So I knew really deep down, I knew that this is a terrible way of living and I would be dead anyway if I'd have kept on, basically.
Yeah. So you got sober in 2001, but in advance of that...
2000.
I beg your pardon, 2000. You did spend a year in a psychiatric unit. What was that experience like?
No, I didn't spend a year. No, I was in the psychiatric times.
In and out of it.
Yeah,
sorry,
drying out, having detoxes. Yeah, that's what. Because I would be afraid to stop, and I'd always end up going to the doctor maybe, and then he'd refer me to the psychiatrist. It's different now. You don't get into the psychiatric unit as handy as you used to.
Do you have a different sort of understanding, Harry, of particularly young people? Let's talk about young people because I think that's when you're most impressionable. You're impressionable. You know, like say, 15 to 25. You might be familiar with their names because they're involved in a scene. You know, and they appear in newspapers because they're in the courts or what have you, and all. Do you have a different view, do you think, to the general population of them? You'll see comments on social media, scumbags, lock them up, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. That's what people are feeling, right? But do you think that then is a situation whereby we as a society don't necessarily understand that it is a disease, that once you're addicted to drugs, you're around criminality, you're around criminals? You know, we've heard of people having to leave the country because the dealers try and drag them back into addiction. Like, do you think we need to look at this in a different way than what we are now?
Well, I do, because people would have called me a junkie, a scumbag, and I see things differently. I felt that way anyway, so I didn't need people to call me it. But I see things differently now that, you know, not anyone that's getting involved with thieving and addiction, there's a genuine reason why they're doing it. I never woke up one morning and said, I must stick some heroin into me or whatever. There was reasons behind it, but I know society's going to have their views on it, and a lot of people don't understand the causes and conditions of this disease. But I remember a woman, Lord have mercy on her, named Margaret McGonigal. She's passed away. She was a counsellor, and she taught me so much. She was a trauma counsellor. She's a Donegal woman. She taught me so much. I'll be forever grateful to that lady. And by her teaching me, I was in the same field of the helping industry, and I would have been able to put people onto her that got help, got recovery. Some of my friends in recovery now, you wouldn't believe what they're up to, all good, positive stuff. I believe it's in the giving you receive. You know, I'm not the person I used to be. You know, I paid a heavy price, and so did a lot of other people. I'm not feeling sorry for Harry. I hurt a lot of people. I wounded a lot of people, and I would be sorry for that. And in my recovery, there's a program where in our program, you go back and make amends to ones you've harmed, if it's safe for you and for them. So I'm lucky that I found the 12-step program of recovery. And for me, that program is a program of change, and I'm not the person I was.
And I mean, you have since 2000, you know, find your path as well. I mean, obviously, you have to look after yourself and make sure that you don't relapse and what have you. But you also moved to Donegal. Your mother originally from Donegal, and you talk of people that have influenced your life from here as well. And you we spoke beforehand about your time in White Oaks, becoming a counsellor.
Yeah,
that was around 2005.
That's right. Yeah,
that I presume that helps you. But then again, through that, you can help other people. Like, I don't know what the balance is or the scale there, but you get something from it, and then obviously the people you work with get something from it as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'd be grateful to help people, you know, because a lot of people are suffering out there. And I was fortunate enough that I have a vast knowledge about drugs and the effects and the usage of drugs, mainly due to me being a user of drugs. But also, I studied a hell of a lot. I'm always studying about addiction, the diseases, the causes, you know, so I have a better understanding of it. I would nearly say I'm I'm very well versed on addiction now because I've been at it 20 odd years, studying and learning. And I remember when I was at school, I was in the bottom class all the way through the junior school, and I used to get away with a lot because I was a very good footballer and I was a runner. I nearly ran at international level, so the teachers used to teach running and what have you. But I was looking out the window most of the time because I was full of stress and anxiety from stuff. And I always heard this before, if there was a blackboard at the window, I'd have been top of the class because I never spent all my time looking out the window.
When you sort of, like, going back to your period of heroin addiction, and you mentioned some other drugs as well, it's very different now, though, in terms of what drugs are there, their availability, how you can get your hands on them, how organised it is, the business of selling drugs, the way it's networked, the way it's moved around the country, the way it's available in every corner of every corner, right?
Yeah.
It's how do you compare the sort of drug scene from your late teens and 20s to the drug scene now? It's different types of people, all different types of people taking drugs now.
Yeah, back in the day it was a certain type of person, more so. But nowadays it's more sociably acceptable now too, you know. The people who accept cocaine taking's become fairly normal. But I mean, I have 2 dogs and I walk where I live, I walk my dogs. And without and I'm in a rural area, every day I see empty 50 bags of coke, like every day nearly, yeah. And that's just so, it's people accepting it much more, but the quality, see, when drugs, I find when I was taking them, when they reach this far, the standard and the quality would go down because the drugs get cut as they move along, that kind of way. But I think society definitely has a different view on cocaine use. But heroin
it's a bit
addicts,
more casual, isn't it? Cocaine, it seems to be like, well, sure, it's only...
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's party drug, it's social. The people take it to socialise. See, when I was taking heroin, I didn't socialise. I went into myself. It turned in on me.
But I don't think we can really ever talk seriously about drugs, cannabis and cocaine and its addiction and its gatewayness and all that kind of stuff, unless you also throw drink into it. But we never want to in this country talk about alcohol, right?
Yeah,
so if you're an addictive personality and you're chasing that buzz, right, it could be alcohol as much as it could be cannabis, which could lead you on to cocaine or heroin, as you know what I mean?
Yes, I do, yeah.
But we have this sort of an a la carte attitude that booze is great. Let's open the pubs to 5 a.m. Everything's fine, right? But don't go near these other drugs because you could end up involved in criminality. It's a strange sort of 2-track society we live in, isn't it?
Yeah, and
you don't say anything bad about booze, but the other drugs are terrible.
See, booze is legal and is sociably acceptable, but sometimes I wonder what it would be like if they legalised drugs in some ways. At times I would be wonder what it would be like if they legalise it. Well, it cuts out the criminality, but then I don't know. I'm not sure. I kind of keep an open mind on that, you know.
I think a lot of people do. Right, so anything you want to part with, Harry, just in terms of, I don't know, as I say, this kind of was triggered by the conversation of a lot of people taking drugs and the impact on the individuals and their families. I mean, you've lived that, you've experienced it, you know all about that. But I think you are of the view, if I'm correct, in that, just locking people up and this, turnstile at the prison gates is not working.
No, it's not the answer. I mean, I worked in a prison for a few years as a counsellor, and it's box ticking exercises, you know. And it's more, when I was there, I didn't get working with the individual offender. I was doing predominantly writing. Tell me how Johnny's not going to reoffend. How do I know how Johnny's not going to reoffend? I didn't get working with the person. It wasn't person-centred. But but don't get me wrong, prisons are making an effort. They are trying to work with people that are addicted. They definitely are, but it just needs a lot of in my opinion, needs overhauled a lot.
All right. How are you now?
I'm great, yeah. Well, I'm not great. I lost my mother. Obviously, I'm not great. My mum died on the 2nd of November. Which
is very recent.
She's my best friend, you know.
Yeah, okay. Well, listen, you're making her very proud, I would say, in speaking out. And we understand that's really difficult for you.
Yeah.
But thank you so much, Harry, for telling us your story, and hopefully people out there can get something from it. And again, condolences on the very sad loss of your mother, who clearly was very important to you.
Yeah,
but for now, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Greg.
Okay.
Thank you.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
Hugo Boss, Victor and Rolf, Dior, Marc Jacobs, and Carolina Herrera. Where else but at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny, where you'll find the biggest names in perfume and aftershaves this Christmas. Sponsors of today's 9 till noon show.
Everyone loves going to the cinema. That's why an Eclipse Cinemas gift voucher is the perfect Christmas present. They aren't just for kids, but all the family. Even little Miss Hard to Buy For. We all have one of them. And when you buy an Eclipse Cinemas gift voucher, you now get 10% extra free. Available on our Bundoran and Lifford cinemas or at eclipsecinemas.com. Vouchers don't expire and can even be used for dine-in screen options and VIP cinema experiences.
This Christmas, let TFI Local Link help you get into the festive spirit and bring you where you need to go. Use our regular rural and door-to-door services to connect with friends and family throughout the Christmas season, with many routes offering evening and weekend services too. For a full list of service arrangements, visit transportforireland.ie. TFI Local Link, part of the Transport for Ireland network.
From the luxurious to the sustainable, beautiful Irish-made products that stand the test of time. Find something you love forever at madelocal.ie. Made local, made to last. Supported by Design and Crafts Council Ireland and me, Lyra.
Give the gift of beauty and rejuvenation this Christmas with the voucher from Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic Edore. Your loved one can choose from a range of transformative treatments, including PDO thread lifts and skin boosters designed to improve facial contours by lifting and tightening the skin. Also offering fat-dissolving treatments, dermal fillers and laser treatments for all skin concerns. Christmas party hair and makeup packages available. Secure your voucher at Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic Edore on 07495 325 75.
In the next 15 seconds, you're going to find out where is the best place in the Northwest to buy a bed or mattress. It's Restex Beds and Furniture Mountaintop, Letterkenny, where comfort meets style.
At Hickey, Clark and Langan Insurance Brokers, they compare quotes from all the leading insurers, so you get a great price. Home, motor and van, farm, holiday home, travel and liability insurance, they quote them all. So if the worst happens, you're covered. For a competitive insurance quote today, call Hickey, Clark and Langan on 9126688 or pop into their office at Ballymacool, Letterkenny. Hickey, Clark and Langan General Insurances Limited, trading as Hickey, Clark and Langan, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Now, as you would know, Highland Radio's big car draw is ongoing. So you're invited, if you wish, if you can afford to buy a ticket, €10 for one, €50 for 6, €80 for 10. You go into the draw drum and someone is going to win a fantastic car. It's worth over €30,000 and it is a beaut. But what are we going to do as well over the next 10 working days, I suppose you could call it, Monday to Friday. This week, Monday to Friday. Next week, we are doing our Grand a Day giveaway. It's happening from today, the 11th, to the 22nd. And here's the deal. If you've entered our car draw, you could be the lucky winner of €1,000. Every day we'll be making a call to one lucky listener. So picture this. You answer the phone and discovered you're a €1,000 witcher. But there is a twist. If the call goes unanswered, the prize doesn't disappear. It rolls over to the next day and the next day and the next day. But listen, hopefully we'll get through to people. So I have been told that I will be giving away €1,000 at some point between now and 12. So if you have your ticket, be ready for a call, because hopefully one of you will win €1,000. Anyone who has a ticket right now is in 11 draws, effectively. So hopefully I'll get through to that lucky winner. It's not too late for you to get your ticket, by the way, and to be included in this element of the prize as well. If you get your ticket in the next, let's say, the next 3/4 of an hour, let me put it to you like that there, you're in effectively all 11 draws, if you know what I'm saying. So it's €10,000 in total up for grabs over the next 10 working days, and then the car as well. So if you're going to get a ticket, you get it now, and that means that you're in all the draws, and you could get that call from me this morning. If you want to go onto our website, highlandradio.com, it's very safe and simple. You can enter there, or you can call us here at the station now, 07491 25,000, and we, as best we can, will process those ticket purchases for you. and you'll be in. You could actually buy a ticket now and get a call from me in less than an hour or so and win €1,000 cash money. €1,000 cash for Christmas. Okay, isn't that exciting? And also, as happens at this time of year, we have a lovely promotion in association with the McGee's Chemists. So this week on the 9 till Noon show, we've got a hamper worth over €500 to be won, courtesy of McGee's Chemists in Letterkenny and McGee's.ie. It contains a Clarence Christmas hamper, a blank canvas 12-piece gold makeup brush set, a large blank canvas purple 3-piece gift set, a Be Perfect muted palette, a Jimmy Choo ladies fragrance, and a 20x16 gallery wrapped canvas, so you can have your favourite photo wrapped in canvas and ready to hang on the wall. 5 daily qualifiers will be in the draw on Friday, and each qualifier will also win a prize. Today's prize is for the ladies. It's a 50 milliliter Carolina Herrera Good Girl EDP spray. So, Caroline, do I play this out now and then we invite people to enter the McGee's? No, we'll not do it. I'll talk to you about that. Stay with me. We're going to take a quick break and I will... fantastic. So they have to come on air. Right. So simply send your name and where you're from to 086 60 25,000. Text or WhatsApp 086 60 25,000. And we'll select one of you who hopefully will win today's prize from McGee's Chemist, 50 milliliter Carolina Herrera Good Girl EDP spray. So that's not so bad. So we've got that to go. And then we have €1,000 to give away before the end of this programme as well. Get your tickets for the car draw if you want to be in that draw today as well, please.
The 9 till Noon show is brought to you by McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny, with all your perfume and aftershave presents this Christmas delivered to your door, or order online and collect in store. Visit mcgees.ie. You could own a brand new car worth €30,000. Someone will get a call from Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon show on December the 22nd. Simply go to highlandradio.com, click on the car link, answer an easy question and buy a ticket for €10, 6 for €50 or 10 for €80. Highland Radio's Great Car Giveaway.
This is Donncha Callahan with an urgent appeal from UNICEF. For children in Gaza, every minute is a battle of survival. I know we're all holding our own children a little bit closer this Christmas. Parents in Gaza must be holding their little children more tightly than we could possibly imagine. Please help UNICEF rush life-saving food, water and medicine. Visit unicef.ie to donate today and help save a child's life. Thank you.
Employers, Clever Cards is the only Irish company where you can order digital MasterCards online. Instantly email digital Clever Cards to your employees or contractors. Anywhere, anytime means late delivery never arises. Clever Cards are saved in your mobile phone, so you always know your balance. Small and large businesses use Clever Cards because they are accepted everywhere, online and in-store using Apple Pay or Google Pay contactlessly. First €1,000 tax-free. Order online now from clevercards.com. Clever Cards MasterCards are issued pursuant to Clever Cards interbank agreement with MasterCard. E-money's accessed with Clever Cards MasterCards are safeguarded and regulated by the Central Bank under EU Payment Service regulations. Clever Card is certified by Apple Pay and Google Pay. Terms and conditions apply.
Níl aonrad níos fearr ná fuaim na glug chun smaoinemh ar an nullag. Ach tá clog amháin atá chun cín ar fad a nucht an spiúrt ceart na nullag. Sin é an clog a déir ghfuil teilech agus cóirde an seo chun an séisiúr speisialta a chéilóra. Is éon bailachas fearr chun an nullag a chéilóra ná leosan. Agus is é an bailachas fearr chun nasca leo ná le bus éireann. Mar sin an nullag seo bíodh na cligíní á múla againn. Lig do bus éireann hu a nasca leis an nullag. Bus éireann, brodul as a bheith pórtach le Transport for Ireland Network. Chun de chud nasc den nullag a flanó, féach ar busaireann.ie.
And now the Highland Forecast, brought to you by Shop LK. Widespread Christmas shopping this December in Letterkenny. See shoplk.ie or like us on Facebook.
Okay, let's have a look at that weather forecast now for the rest of today. And I can tell you that it'll be mainly dry with sunny spells this morning. Cloud will increase from the west this afternoon, though rain will spread north eastwards through the late afternoon and evening, turning heavy at times. Temperatures of 7 to 9 degrees. Right, we're joined on the programme now by the owner of the Leitrim Inn and Blue Way Lodge, Adeline. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Good morning.
How are you all keeping? Tell us about how this mini tornado visited the village.
Well, it was fast and furious. For something that lasted under 30 seconds, it did an awful lot of damage. Customers that were in the Leitrim Inn and Blue Way Lodge just didn't know what was happening. Literally, the building shook and dust and smoke and debris started filling in through the doors. People just didn't know what was going on. And when they came outside, obviously, it was worse. So, yeah, it was an absolute unreal event.
And what did you think was happening, I wonder?
Well, we knew it was weather-related, some of the younger staff thought there was an explosion, they didn't know. But it was just, everybody was just shocked. We didn't know exactly what it was, but we did come to the conclusion fairly quickly it was some type of a tornado.
And it's very localised, isn't it? So whatever was in its pathway took a real hit.
Yes, it took a definite pathway, and just everything in its pathway, it was very, very powerful. I mean, there's block walls knocked down, roofs taken off, windows blown out. There was people in cars that it's an absolute miracle that they weren't killed. One car at the front had a beam gone through its windscreen, and there was 2 people in that. Another car at the back in the car park, there was an older lady in it, and her car at the back was completely flattened. So she escaped. Too. Very, very, very lucky.
It's an incredible shock for everyone. Everyone is okay. As you say, a miracle no one was injured. The clean-up starts now. Of course, some people are out of their homes, businesses unable to operate. I'm sure Leitrim County Council are on the ground assessing things and hope to get things as back to normal as soon as possible.
Leitrim County Council, we have engineers, we have assessors, the Gardaí. So just basically assessing it and see where we're at. There's an awful lot of businesses that's going to be affected now, and homes. There's a lot of homes destroyed as well. So yeah, we just won't know till later today exactly how bad it is.
Yeah, it's an awful shock for everyone, and the strength, the destructive power, that's what's really, we see this stuff on the TV and what have you, but to actually see it in action locally, it is incredible. The level of destruction is astonishing, isn't it?
It's crazy, and it's just sad, and it's, the time of year that's in it, people can't afford to have their businesses closed. This is, should be one of the busiest times of the year. We've staff now that are wondering when they're going to be back at work, and we can't give them any answers.
Would you be hoping, or maybe it's already been committed, that the government will put in some sort of a support similar as we see during the times of flooding?
Yes, I would really hope that we would get some help. As I said, this is a very, very unreal event, and I would expect the government to help us out to get our businesses back up and running as quickly as possible and get people back to work and back into their homes for Christmas.
Yeah.
Now, there is whispers that Leo Varadkar is on his way to the village at the moment. So hopefully that's a good indication that they're prepared to help.
He's coming with something, hopefully, because for a lot of businesses as well, this is the sort of couple of weeks trading that gets you through the quiet January, February as well. Yeah,
exactly.
All right, listen, thank you so much for joining us at this difficult time. We hope everything gets back to normal as soon as is possible. Thanks for giving us an insight. I really appreciate it.
Thanks very much.
All right, take care, Adeline. Bye-bye. She's owner of the Leitrim Inn and Blue Way Lodge there. In studio with me now is Joe Corkery, spokesperson for the Special Needs Parent Donegal Network Group, and we're really lucky to have you come in and give us updates on the various meetings and the progress that's being made in this campaign. So you had another meeting with the HSE on Friday.
We did. Thanks
okay.
for having us on.
No, sorry. I'm so familiar with you now. I've done away with all courtesy and politeness. You're just part of the family now, Joe. I'm conscious we have about 5 minutes, so I want to get it out as much as is possible. Right, okay. So your initial, just as an update on your feelings as to how serious the HSE are taking all of this now, because yous have put in, and the collective term for all the families come together, yous have put a lot of effort in to sort of say, right, this is the pathway, these are the problems, what are you going to do now? So it's over to you. You feel they're working with you, progress being made?
There's huge work happening, I suppose, in terms of recruitment. So there really is, a fantastic effort from HSE management, the HR team at, CHO1 health team. So yeah, on recruitment, there's a huge amount of work happening for sure. Minister Abbott was in with you 3 weeks ago, and she spoke about, removing the panel system for Donegal. That will also be happening in Galway and Waterford. And I would imagine it will also be extended out nationwide because, as we've mentioned a number of times, this is a nationwide issue. So as it currently stands, there are 50 vacant roles in Donegal for children's disability. It was communicated to us that 12 of those are at, a latter stage of the recruitment process, and that best case scenario still leaves us with 38 open roles. It was discussed, and they were very transparent and open with us on Friday, that the expressions of interest are unfortunately very low in the remaining roles. So that does leave us very concerned about the future, particularly the short to medium term.
And just to be clear, there is a recruitment freeze. This doesn't cover this area at the moment, so that's not a factor in the recruitment process as it stands.
That should actually help us in terms of, the disability teams have a derogation. So, we can still continue to hire for children's disability roles, which is very much a positive, but expressions of interest are quite low, which does concern us about the short to medium term.
And is that with the knowledge of the panels being scrapped, or all right? So in other words, that hasn't been the silver bullet.
And
in fairness, the minister suggested as such. Relocation packages.
Yes.
Is that a thing? Because that is
something that they have.
Something we haven't seen much before.
Yeah, Dermot Monaghan, the head of the HSE team, and CHO1 spoke to us that they are offering relocation packages. There is a huge amount of work happening to try and encourage applications to the Donegal role. So that's very, very encouraging. Although I suppose in terms of short to medium term, what will happen for our kids right now, or what's going to happen in the next 6 months, we're still quite concerned about that. To be frank.
And in terms of the short-term measures, because we kind of been discussing short, medium, long, right?
Yeah.
So the minister again talked about using up private capacity and things like that there.
Exactly.
Any progress in that regard?
So let me just go through our 4 measures. So the first measure was on equipment needs and supporting the families and the children who have urgent equipment needs. That is happening. Very, very reassuring to see that. Therapists are reaching out to families, on their wheelchair needs, on, orthotic needs and things like that. So there is provision and maintenance of equipment happening for those urgent cases, which is very, very reassuring. And that was something we were very, very keen to ensure happened as soon as possible. In terms of redeployment of resources from other areas was emergency measure number 2. Very non-committal on that. And I suppose what we're saying is, look, that's what the actual existing staff are telling us needs to happen, because we need experience. I mean, Donegal East as a location has 70% vacancy rate. The best case scenario is we're going to be recruiting in 8 new therapists into that team, and they need experience, they need support, they need training and all that type of thing. So we still see that as a work in progress, and maybe we still have to make a convincing case with regards to that. Reimbursement for private therapy was something we were very firm on, because families are paying a huge amount of money. Those that can afford to are paying a huge amount of money, and obviously those that can't afford to are having to go without. So the children have lesser outcomes, which is an unacceptable situation from our perspective. Mr. Abbott referenced a scheme to us, but provided no details whatsoever on that. So we want to follow up with her on that.
The actions have to follow the words, don't they?
Exactly. Now, just to reference your point, yes, there is some really efforts ongoing to contract in private services into the HSE, and that is happening on a very small scale at the minute. We do feel there's a huge opportunity to expand that. I will be frank, it will be probably teletherapy that we're speaking about, because, private services, private therapies are hard to access as well as the public services. So, but there are organisations around the country who have, expressed an interest in helping support, children on the CDNT caseload in Donegal. So we are really pushing that with the team, with the HSE team here in Donegal. So we do feel there's huge scope to extend that. It won't be ideal. It won't be what, what we really need to see, but it will be something in the short to medium term to support those families.
What kind of interest in all of this is, Joe, is if you hadn't got together as you've had, where we would be at? None of this would be happening. Like, the panels would still be there. It just goes to show that isn't it scary? How bad would it have got before some of this stuff actually?
And there's a group of parent representatives that are working really hard on this as well, alongside the HSE. And it's about people. And I will say this. Like, we're all doing this on a voluntary basis. We have families, we have work commitments, and we are, but we see the power, I suppose, behind our voices, and we see the value of these roles, the value of the therapy. There's everyone that works within the CDNT teams in Donegal that we've come in contact with are fantastic. Yeah. They're highly skilled, they're fantastic, they're brilliant at their jobs. We need more of those, and that's what we're saying loud and clear. We need more of those. But I suppose as part of our, before I finish up, I wanted to mention just about Special Needs Parents Network Donegal. So we have almost 700 members on our Facebook page. I want to say that that's a closed Facebook page. That's just for, and we are going to be working a little bit more on our social media because it's an election next year. We need to get it out there. We also are working on and have recently launched a website. So special needs, it's www.snpndonegal.com. So that's going to have information about our organisation, about local initiatives, about signposting parents towards, fantastic work that's happening, about where they can get support.
Brilliant, because we can only do the headlines here. Yeah. But all the info's on the Facebook page and will be on the website. All right, keep us in the loop.
We will.
Joe, thank you very much for calling in. That's Joe Corkery, spokesperson for Special Needs Parents Donegal Network Group. We'll be back after the news and obituary notices. The news will be a little bit late, but we just wanted to get that update from Joe. Speak to you soon.
Gift sets by celebrity, by budget, or from the classic collection at McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny. For the perfect present every time, visit mcgees.ie, sponsors of today's 9 till noon show.
Stay warm for less this winter with Homeland. 5-pack wood logs buy 3 for €13. Hardwood log crate 450 kg, only €329. Nationwide delivery available. Shop in store or online at homeland.ie.
The Department of Social Protection is working to improve disability payments in Ireland. There is currently a consultation on how these payments might work better in the future. We want to hear your views on how the system might be improved. To find out more, please visit gov.ie/disability payments reform. A Government of Ireland initiative brought to you by the Department of Social Protection.
Still not sure what to get your friends and family for Christmas? McElhinney's are here to help. Our in-store team can support you in finding the perfect gift within your price range. Still undecided? A McElhinney's gift card is the perfect present for the person who has everything. If you can't make it in-store, you can shop our online gift guide section on mcelhinney's.com.
Connect Hearing is open for free hearing tests. Our audiologist is available Monday to Friday for wax removal services at our Letterkenny clinic in the Courtyard Shopping Centre. We also offer a home visit for those who aren't able to visit us. Our hearing is our social sense. Are you finding hearing more of a challenge? Call Ursula today on 07491 13296 to make an appointment. Good hearing helps us to connect to our family, friends and loved ones. Connect Hearing, connecting you to life.
Do you need a UK address? Save hundreds of euros on custom charges shopping online with Space Hub Dairy. We provide a full virtual address mailbox service for all your business and personal use. Save hundreds, possibly thousands on custom charges with Space Hub Dairy. Call 048 71 87 8077 or online spacehubdairy.com for more details.
Come along to the ESIS Centre on the Donegal Dairy border. We are providing something special and something different. Right next door is our Celtic prayer garden. Walk around and enjoy the peace. The children love it. Then come over to the ESIS Centre and try some of our delicious food. We have an organic farm and plenty of events planned on the run-up to Christmas. The ESIS Centre will really put the heart in your Christmas.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app.
This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning. 2 minutes past 10. Donald Kavanagh at the Highland Radio News Desk. Higher Education Minister Simon Harris has announced a project to boost apprenticeships. €17 million in funding is being allocated to the higher education sector in order to meet demand, with the largest allocation going to the Atlantic Technological University. A number of places are being opened up at the ATU Letterkenny campus in metal fabrication, refrigeration and electrical engineering. Minister Charlie McConalogue says it is a significant announcement.
Apprenticeships are something that has fallen away over the last decade or two, and that the government is really now pushing to drive on. You know, ATU Letterkenny, under the leadership of Paul Hannigan and all of his team there, have been really prioritising this. They've put in a great application to seek to expand apprenticeship places, and as a result of that now we've been able to deliver €4.7 million of the national total of 17 million, which is by far the highest allocation, to back ATU and to back the Letterkenny campus and to back the team there and all of the staff in relation to providing these apprenticeship courses.
There are calls for meaningful dialogue as Stormont parties prepare to meet with the Secretary of State. Talks will focus on the North's finances, public services and the possibility of re-establishing the executive. However, talks between the UK government and the DUP still haven't reached an endpoint. Alliance MP Stephen Farry wants to see that momentum pick up.
We do have a sense of some sort of deadline in that we're coming to the end of the calendar year, and also we know in early January the executive formation legislation expires, so that in itself is some form of watershed where if we don't have restoration by then, the government will have to either renew that or do something else. So hopefully that will be focusing minds.
A local business owner in Leitrim says the roof of his premises was shredded by yesterday's mini tornado. A clean-up operation continues this morning in Leitrim village after a freak weather incident swept in during Storm Fergus. A number of buildings and cars were severely damaged. Minor injuries were reported as a result. Seamus Gibbons is the owner of Electric Bike Trails.
This mini tornado literally swept across from east to west and through the village and just took everything inside across the road from me. It took the middle of a house. The roof clean off seemed to sweep up along the back of the local pub and came across my place, and it just literally shredded the roof. And it's a big roof, it had to be made safe last night.
The first sod is being turned this afternoon on 42 new social housing units at Gortnagrania in Bundoran. The turning of the sod at Drumacrin takes place at 2:30 this afternoon to mark the beginning of construction. It would cost nearly €55,000 to employ someone to carry out the work of a stay-at-home parent. A study by Royal London Ireland also found 90% of people underestimated the worth of a stay-at-home parent by around €24,000. The insurance and investment company found women were far more likely to accurately estimate what it would cost. And a small change to legislation on coercive control would have an immediate and significant impact for at-risk adults. A report by Sage Advocacy, the National Advocacy Service for Older People, found shortcomings in access to justice, that justice is uneven and that many barriers need to be addressed for at-risk adults. The CEO of Sage Advocacy, Mervyn Taylor, says protection is needed for people with diminished responsibility who are victims of crime.
Some terrible crimes can be committed against people with diminished capacity, and because they cannot give strong witness statements, they're ignored in some cases, and in other cases they go through a process which is half-hearted. Coercive control is seen as a crime only in the context of intimate relationships. By simply changing that legislation so that coercive control can apply to non-intimate relationships, we could immediately change the discussion around adult safeguarding.
And Donegal County Council is exploring the possibility of developing a marine safety initiative similar to the Road Safety Roadshow, which has been attended by thousands of transition year students. The suggestion was made by Councillor Mark McDermott, who said he was struck by the fact that a recent rescue in Lough Foyle was triggered by the fact that one person on a sinking boat was wearing a life jacket with a built-in centre. That sparked an alarm at Malin Head. A search was started and the signal pinpointed the sinking boats. He said that life jacket saved 4 lives. and the story, Councillor McDermott says, could have been very, very different.
Malin Head Coast Guard was able to send the rescue services to that exact position, and I think that's something that we should be pushing here. We have a lot of visitors that come here and go out on boats on a Saturday or a Sunday in the good weather, and we should be pushing the fact that no one should be going onto the water without having a life jacket that's registered and that can send a signal in if something happens, because we would never push anybody to get into the car and not put on a seat belt. It should be the same thing when it comes to the water.
Weather forecast, mainly dry with sunny spells. This morning, rain developing in the west in the late afternoon. It'll spread eastwards, turning heavy at times, clearing early tonight. Top temperatures today, 7 or 8 degrees Celsius in freshening south to southeast winds. That's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 11. Check on all of today's stories, of course, on our website, highlandradio.com. But from now, from the news team, have a very good morning. The obituary notices for this Monday morning, the 11th of December. The death has taken place of Hannah McLaughlin, Carrick Spar, Glenealy. Hannah's remains will repose at her late home from 11 o'clock this morning. Funeral from there on Wednesday morning at 10:30, going to St Mary's Church, Buchan, Culdaff, for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family time, please, from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. on Monday and Tuesday. The funeral mass can be viewed on culdaffparish.com. The death has taken place of Neil Devlin, Temple Moyle, Culdaff. Neil's remains will leave Liam Collins Funeral Home, Station Road, Carndonagh, this afternoon at 2 o'clock, going to his late brother Philip Devlin's home at Shore Road, Ballyliffin. Family time, please, from 10 p.m. to 11 a.m. Funeral Mass on Wednesday morning at 11 in St Patrick's Church, Ahatley Malin, followed by burial in the adjoining graveyard. The death has occurred of Patrick Packy Caraban, Dramark, Donegal Town. Remains will repose at Gallagher's Funeral Home, Station Road, Mount Charles, tomorrow from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Removal from there on Wednesday morning to St Mary's Church, Killimard, for 11 o'clock funeral mass, followed by cremation. No flowers, please. The house is private. The death has occurred of Joe Gallagher, 7, The Cottages, Burnfoot. Joe's remains will repose at his home from 11 o'clock this morning. Removal on Wednesday morning at 10:15 to St Mary's Church, Fawn, for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock, followed by interment in the adjoining graveyard. Requiem Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family time, please, from 10 p.m. to 11 a.m. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Oncology Unit, Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member or Murphy Funeral Directors. The death has taken place of Daniel Canning, Caradone, Rathmullen. Remains reposing at his sister Mary Lokery's residence at Glencross, Rathmullen, from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Funeral Mass tomorrow at 11 in St Joseph's Church, Rathmullen, with burial afterwards in Rathmullen Cemetery. The funeral mass can be viewed on mcnmedia.tv. Family time, please, before the funeral tomorrow. The death has taken place of Johnny Kennedy, 26 Church Street, Strabane. His remains are reposing at his home. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 9:30 for Requiem Mass in the Church of the Immaculate Conception, Strabane, at 10 o'clock, followed by interment in Strabane Cemetery. Donations in lieu of flowers, please, to the Alzheimer's Society, care of Quigley Funeral Directors. Family time, please, from 9 p.m. to 11 a.m. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the parish webcam. The death has occurred of Marcellus Gillespie, Driminin, Barnesmore. Remains reposing at his home from 2 o'clock this afternoon until Rosary at 9 this evening. Removal from his home tomorrow morning at 10:30, going to St Agatha's Church, Clar, for 11 o'clock Mass, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. House private, please, on the morning of the funeral. Family flowers only. The death has taken place at Beach Hill Manor Nursing Home in Fawn of Patricia McGuigan, formerly St Louise, Ballynanny Lane, Moville. Funeral Mass this morning at 11 in St Mary's Church, Ballybrack, Moville, followed by burial in the adjoining graveyard. The death has occurred of Danny Midlin, Corramone, Ballybuffet. Funeral from his late residence this morning at 10:15 for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass in the Church of Mary Immaculate, Stranorlar. Interment afterwards in Drumbo Cemetery. The Requiem Mass will be streamed on churchservices.tv. Family time, please, from 10 p.m. to 11 a.m. and on the morning of the funeral. The death has taken place of Matthew Hanlon, Swilly Park, Remelton, son of Corey Hanlon and Jacqueline Graham. Funeral Mass this morning at 11 in St Mary's Church, Remelton, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The funeral mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family flowers only, please. Donations, if desired, to Pieta House, care of Patrick Sweeney, funeral directors. And the death has taken place of William Graham, Forker, Milford. Funeral service this afternoon at 1 o'clock in Milford Presbyterian Church, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Donations, if desired, to the Oncology Unit and Medical 2, Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
What do you give someone who is everything? Everything. Because that's what you get with an Aldi gift card. Choose from delicious Christmas food and drink, or even our legendary Aldi special buys. Amounts start from €10. It's perfect for loved ones, hard-working team members, early birthday presents, or teachers' treats. And it shows everyone just how gifted you are. Buy online or in store. Discounts available for bulk orders. Aldi. Share the love this Christmas. Terms apply. Visit aldi.ie/gift cards for details.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
And you're very welcome back to the 9 till Noon Show. Good morning if you've just switched on. Right, a couple of things. It's coming up to Christmas, so loads of giveaways, as you can imagine, to lift the spirits. We have a fantastic competition in association with our friends at McGee's Chemist. We have a daily prize and then a fantastic Friday prize, really. I was going to say weekend, but it is the weekend. This week's 9 till Noon Show, we've got a hamper worth over €500 to be won, courtesy of McGee's Chemist in Letterkenny and online, mcgees.ie. Today also, we have a 50ml Carolina Herrera Good Girl EDP spray. 4 ladies, but you know what? If you're a gent, you want to bang it on, that's up to you too. How do you enter? This one's really, really simple. Just text your name and where you're from to 086 60 25,000. WhatsApp or text 086 60 25,000. We'll draw one lucky person out of the hat. We'll give you a buzz, bring you on air. There's a really simple song that you have to identify. It's only for fun, right? So if your name's drawn, you're going to get it. You get me? And you'll be the daily winner. And then your name's in the hat for that huge €500 hamper, which includes a 20 by 16 gallery wrapped canvas, so you can have your favourite photo wrapped in canvas and ready to hang on the wall. And they're really impactful and striking and lovely as well. Okay, so all you have to do, no question at this point, just text your name, where you're from, to 086 60 25,000, and you will go in the virtual hat. Someone's name will be pulled out after 11, and a quick chat with me, and you win the daily prize, and then you're thrown into the hamper draw then as well. Okay, couldn't be simpler. Now on to the card draw. A little later on, we are going to be ringing someone, and hopefully they will win €1,000. All they'll have to do is answer the call. So if you're listening, I want this to work for you to answer the call. So that's just the way it's being done, okay? So we'll take a draw ticket out here. We'll ring someone. Hopefully they'll answer within 5 rings, 6 rings-ish. If they do, they receive €1,000. It's really that simple. Then their number goes back in the draw drum, and they're in the draw for the other €1,000 that we have. And the car as well. All right, so it's fantastic, isn't it? So phones at the ready. If you want to get into that, there's still time. You have to be quick, though. If you want to be in all 11 draws effectively, right? It's effectively 11 draws, but the money could be given away in as a rollover, okay? So you get me? It's hard to explain, but you get it. Right, so we'll be calling someone in the next hour. but you can still get your ticket to be in all of the draws. You can go on our website, highlandradio.com, safe and secure for you to get your tickets there, or give us a call here on 07491 25,000, and we'll get those processed just as best as we can and get your name literally as we speak. Numbers are being put into the draw drum. So everyone entering this morning is going to be in with a chance to receive that call for £1,000. Well, it's not pounds, it's euro, but you know what I mean. All right, back after these.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Monday the 11th of December. You're playing on the green sheet. The reference number is S6. It's game number 50. The numbers are 75, 14, 4, 79, 70, 87, 11, 66, 20, and finally 41. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Uno, dos, tres. A hain, a do, a tree. 1, 2, 3. The Arona, the Ateca and the Tarraco. 3 great SUVs from Seat. And when you order now, you can enjoy 3 years free tyre insurance and 3 years roadside assistance, plus 3 flexible payment options to purchase your new Seat. Visit seat.ie to discover even more of our fantastic offers. Great things come in threes at DMG Motors, Donegal Town. And while I have 3 seconds, allow me to say that yes, terms and conditions apply.
Cooney's Christmas shop has gone mad this Christmas with massive reductions on trees and lights. 7-foot Colorado was $299, now only $129. 7-foot Prelit was $289, now only $199. 1,000 tree bright lights was $79, now only $39.99. Need battery lights for your garland were $7.99, now only $5.99. Hurry though, only while stocks last. Cooney's Christmas shop, Letterkenny Retail Park, Letterkenny. Open 7 days and making Christmas magical.
Send Christmas smiles from Alcorn's festive flower selection. Lovingly remember those we miss with a tribute from our Christmas selection. All our orders are handmade in store, so please order early. Wishing you your best Christmas from all at Alcorn's.
The 9 till noon show with McGee's Chemist Main Street, Letterkenny, offering a great range of digital cameras and binoculars for Christmas. McGee's, the photographic experts, where the best costs less.
Right, the Dáil recently heard how a Donegal man's life was destroyed by failings by Tús after being falsely accused of abusing his son and daughter. Donegal Deputy Piers Doherty, you might remember, raised the case and claims Tús seemingly fabricated the allegations, including the recording of a false confession, which was only brought to the attention of Mr. Porter through a Freedom of Information request. And Mr. Porter is said to have developed significant health problems due to the stress caused by the false accusations dating back to 2010. Tús has since apologised to William and Mr. Porter. William is now living with both his children. So I'm reading from a script and I'm calling you Mr. Porter, but I have you in front of me and it's William Porter, of course. William, how are you? How are you keeping? How are you now?
I'm not so bad, Greg. One day at a time, as they say, you know. The reason that, first of all, before we start and get into this story, there's a few words I need to say. First of all, I want to thank Piers Doherty. Without Piers Doherty, I wouldn't be here today. I can honestly say he saved my life. And a guy I used to work from the time, Niall Gallagher, who's become a friend of mine, and Niall gave me great assistance too when I was in the real dark days back in 2016 and before. And I've come here today. I'm not here for William Porter today. I'm here in the public interest. Because I have a duty to everybody on this island of Ireland. I'm not just chatting about the 26 counties, I'm chatting about the 32 counties, because what has went on here is nothing short of appalling. It's disgraceful. Vile is a word I would use. What has happened over the course of the years, what I've witnessed happen to my family and myself. And, you know, it's just, I'm here in the interest of the people because I've come into contact with people over the last number of years who have been affected also by these organisations, and I have a duty to the people to come and tell this story today.
And it's almost unimaginable what you've been through, and also from any loving parent's perspective, it's possibly one of the worst things could happen to you.
Well, we're all set out in a course in life, Greg, and we have hurdles to negotiate. And, you know, it's very hard as I get through this story. You know, it was a one day at a time thing, but as the thing unravelled and I seen what was opening up before me, I actually started to question my own sanity times that this could be happening. Yeah. I did. There was times, you know, because I got into times where I did not sleep with what went on, and when I get into the thing, you know, the whole thing started really back in 2010. My marriage broke down. My daughter was taken away from home, and I didn't really see her for the first year at all. I only saw her for an hour a week in a cafe in Castlederrig, and I had no real contact with her whatsoever. So this was no good. Rachel was only a wee bit over 2 years of age at the time, and you know, I had to go through court to get proper contact set up, and that was very difficult because I contacted a legal firm in Tyrone at the time, and they were looking for £600 for one day in court. And in my naivety, I said to the guy, "Will that sort everything out?" He says, "I wouldn't think so, you know." So I couldn't afford to hire legal representation, so I ended up working as self-litigant myself.
I mean, that in itself, before we even get into it, that in itself, that you are the ability to secure the right to see your children can come down to how much money you have. I mean, that's in it. You know, I mean, that's
Absolutely.
even the start of it.
Yeah.
But that in itself is.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I did receive help from a man, and he's not with us anymore, unfortunately, a man called Pat Kelly. He worked for a group called Forever Fathers, and he got me school to go into court the first time I done the Oma courthouse, because my daughter had been taken to Northern Ireland, and I had to go through the Northern Ireland system, so I did. And he gave me great help, so he did, Pat, and I'm just, I think about him every day, to tell you the truth, but unfortunately he died in 2014, so he did. But anyway, I started, and the first time I applied to get contact with my daughter, I remember it was either the first or second time I was up in the court, and I went upstairs, was handing in papers up to the court clerk, and I remember the court children's officer at the time reached me this bundle of papers, and I sat down and started to flick through them, and I started to read stuff on these papers, which I couldn't believe I was reading about myself. And I remember looking across, and there was 3 PSNI officers sitting across from me. We were in the upstairs part in the court, and I said, "If you guys were seeing what I was reading here, you'd be taking me away," sort of thing, you know. So anyway, I got a wee bit of contact set up. I saw my daughter for 2 hours on a Tuesday after school, and we went and done homework, and I got a wee bite to eat, and then I dropped her home for 5:30. It progressed into weekend contact in 2011, going into 2012. And the first weekend that she was back down at home in Donegal, she woke up at 6:30 in the morning, and her room's just adjacent to mine, Greg. And she came over into me. It was her first time back in nearly 2 years in the family home, you know, and she woke up at 6:30, and she came over and jumped in beside me, you know, and she just woke up. She wasn't, you know, and me and her chatted for a minute, and we went back off to sleep. But the next day I went into court. The court children's officer eyed me immediately, and she just pointed at me to get into her room in the courthouse in Oma, and she took me into this room, and she says, "I believe your daughter has been in your bedroom." And at first I was in shock. I says, "Yes, she was. She woke up. It was her first night down." Now, I know this lady's name, but I can't say it, of course. And she warned me that she must never enter my bedroom.
Jeez, what? Right, okay.
And I says, "What are you trying to imply happened?"
You see, it's even... This puts you in a position that even starting to have this conversation with this person now, it's bringing your mind into places that it would never be, or questions of your relationship with your daughter that you would never have. Yeah. It's horrendous, isn't it?
Well, you know, I understand that these people have a difficult job, and especially a court children's officer, because she's taking information from social workers and she's having to do their work and pass it on to the judge. And I did develop a relationship with this lady during court times. She actually assisted me. But I'll never forget that day, because it really knocked me back. And I assured her, I says, "Okay, I won't let her near my bedroom again." And I adhered to that. So that was okay, Greg. That happened then, and I'm just coming forward here. Then my contact was continuously broken. There was no consistent contact, and nobody was doing nothing about it. Now,
So just so we understand the language here, and we're only talking about your situation, not other parties as such. You were being frustrated, like were you being told your daughter's not available, or
I would have went to pick her up and she wouldn't even.
Okay, perfect. Okay, just so we understand what was going. Yeah,
and I was relaying this back, but I was getting nowhere.
Yeah.
So my son was so frustrated at the time too, because he wasn't getting to see his wee sister. He was living with me, and he stayed with me, of course, when the marriage broke down. And he was so frustrated. He says, "Daddy, you're getting nowhere at all. I'm going to go and speak to these people. They're going to have to listen to me." So on June the 20th, 2013, Andrew spoke to us. I'm going to call her social worker A in Derry. And he went on and relayed his fears about his wee sister and about him not getting to see her and stuff like that there. This social worker, he went on his own, and she showed him no compassion whatsoever. She actually rung me that evening and threatened me on the phone and said that that's a terrible thing you've put your son through there today. I says, I haven't put him through anything. He's not getting seeing his wee sister. This is terrible what's going on. You people need to do something here. So that was okay. We got nowhere. Andy was very upset, so he was. And that was okay. But
what age was that? What age was Andrew at this time?
16 years
right,
old.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, and moving forward then, this was in Derry where he had this meeting with social worker A.
Yeah.
So this is when it really starts to get going, Greg. In the 16th of July 2013, we got a meeting with a social worker B, and I think it's County Buildings up in Omagh. And we went up there, and I have to say this was one of the most horrific days that I've ever put in my life. I've never witnessed anything I've witnessed this day. I witnessed my son telling this lady things, shocking things, and she didn't listen to one word that he said. She didn't listen to one word what he said. She turned everything back on him.
Can you give us an idea without going into it? I know it's difficult, but
it's really personal stuff that happened within his life, and I want to try to protect that as much as possible.
Now I understand. So he was
relaying very serious stuff,
about
absolutely really serious stuff.
Get you.
And he become upset during the meeting. Now, sitting beside social worker B was social worker C, and she had her head down. She didn't even engage with us because I don't think she could believe it was happening herself. And I can't remember exactly how long in the meeting, but I could see Andrew was getting really upset. And I remember I put my hand on his knee. I says, "You're okay, son. I'm going to take you out of here."
Yeah.
And I looked at social worker B and I says, "Just give me 1 minute. I'm taking my son out of this situation." And I took him outside and I sat him down in something like a seat like that there in the hall. And I says, "Give me 2 minutes." And I went back in to social worker B, and here's what I asked her. I says, "Are you a mother yourself?" And she screeched at me, "How dare you ask me that question?" I says, "I'm going to ask it again from a humanitarian point of view. Are you a mother yourself?" And it was the same response. She just screeched at me, "How dare you ask me such a question?" And I said to her, I says, "I just do not know how you can treat my son the way you did." And I got up and I left the meeting, so I didn't. We headed home, and I was deeply upset. So he was. The next day, I was working in the shed. I was fireman at the time at home, and I got a call from her on the 17th of July 2013, and she threatened me that I wasn't going to see my daughter again if I proceeded in the way that I was carrying on. And she then compiled a false report, like what happened down the line with Tusla. She compiled a false report for the court children's officer. Excuse me, I was getting a bit dry.
All right, take a drink of that. Yeah. I'm surprised it's so difficult to talk about having to go through it all again. But anyway, she compiled a report.
She compiled a report. I'm not going to get into the stuff that was on the report, which was read out to a judge in the upstairs part of the court in Omagh a few days later. Was relayed to the judge by the court children's officer. And I said, this is absolute nonsense what has been said here. I just couldn't believe it.
So what was she trying to get at in that report? Again, without compromising your son's privacy or any information you don't want to share, but just what was she trying, what story was she trying to paint as much as you want to say?
She was working off information that had been passed to her from Women's Aid.
Right.
And she had made out that I had coerced my son to go forward.
So he was like a victim of yours, is the way it was being framed.
Yes, but yet he was still living with me, which was crazy in itself, you know what I mean? So that's what happened there. So that was okay. Moving forward, she's phoned me in the...
So what was the impact of that, by the way, of her presenting that in the court as was? What was the consequence, or what was that being used for? Did that interfere your access to your daughter, or is it just something that was placed on the record that would work against you down the line?
It was just placed on the record, and I found it very difficult, although I have to say, and I can say that Judge Sherd seemed a very fair man. I was speaking to him at the time, Judge Sherd he was that day, and I explained to him that none of this was true, and he did seem to listen to me, you know, he did seem to listen, but moving forward it left things very, very difficult for me moving forward, you know, and that was really 2013 up on, that was July. Now here's Greg, now I'm not expecting you to be Sherlock Holmes, but just work this one out. That was in July the 17th. In August, the following month, I got a call from Tuzla to tell me that they're coming to investigate me for abusing my son. And I asked the guy on the phone, I says, like, what is this all about? I had never had no touch with any social workers in Southern Ireland whatsoever. So he arrives at my door and I ask him, I says, you're telling me that you're here now 3 years after I was meant to have done this. He says, I'm only here to tie up loose ends. And I said, let me tell you something, my good man. My son's life is no loose end. And I says, you're an absolute disgrace that you've taken that long to get here. 3 years after that's 3 years after this incident that was reported to happen. And that's how long it took him to get to my door. And I says, you better come in because me and you need to have a good chat.
Yeah.
He spent a couple of hours with me and he went away and he came back and spoke to my son on another occasion. I think it was about a week or 10 days later. And when he was leaving, I said to him, I said, are you happy now that my son's, safe with me? Oh, he says, I'm surely, no problem.
Right.
So that was the two meetings we had, firstly with Tuzla, So I knew instantly, I did say to him, I says, look, you've been sent here by Northern Ireland because of the stuff that happened previously in Northern Ireland. And he totally denied it. He totally denied it. He says, no, I'm just here to tie us loose ends. He said the same thing over again, which, it didn't take, if you put two and two together.
The time was too...
it was just like, that was my take on it. That's what I believe to be true, And...
So do you think, if you are correct in that it was the Northern Ireland people that triggered this Tuzla activity, do you think that any part of it was about child protection, or was this now about having a go at you?
Well, as we get forward, I'll show you exactly what happened.
Jumping forward?
Yeah,
right?
No. What's going to unfold here, only that this is down and there's a report to back this up, you wouldn't believe this. You would get me sectioned. Okay. That's what you would do.
Yeah.
What you're going to hear.
Do you know what? Do you mind if I take a 2.5 minute break?
Surely.
Give you a chance to wet the whistle, so to speak, and then we'll be back with more. Is that all right?
Perfect, great.
Okay, we're in the conversation with William Porter and his astonishing experience with Tuzla and its equivalent in Northern Ireland. We're going to pick up the story with William after we take this short break.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Fill your stocking this Christmas from all the great gift ideas at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny, sponsors of today's 9 till noon show. See mcgees.ie or like McGee's on Facebook for a chance to win some great prizes.
This Christmas, let TFI Local Link help you get into the festive spirit and bring you where you need to go. Use our regular rural and door-to-door services to connect with friends and family throughout the Christmas season, with many routes offering evening and weekend services too. For a full list of service arrangements, visit transportforireland.ie. TFI Local Link, part of the Transport for Ireland network.
Merry Yuletide, one and all. At TK Maxx, you can spoil all your loved ones with big brand gifts that are always up to 60% less than the RRP.
I'm going to need a bigger basket.
Fabulous gifts literally everyone will love. From kids' toys, designer jewellery to luxury candles. Big gifts, small prices. In store this Christmas at TK Maxx.
Stay warm for less this winter with Homeland. Willow Warm Eco Briquettes, 100% renewable, 100% Irish wood. Buy 3 bales, get 2 fire logs free. Nationwide delivery available. Shop in store or online at homeland.ie. There's bingo every Monday night at Halfway House Bingo Burnfoot. Doors open at 7:30 with eyes down at 8:30. €2,500 must go. The snowball is now €2,150 on 45 numbers or less. If you're not in, you can't win. That's Halfway House Bingo tonight at 8:30. Find the Volkswagen in you with the Caddy Cargo Transporter 6.1 Crafter and the new Amarok. With HP finance from 4.9% and service plans from $12.99 per month. Book your test drive at Connolly's Volkswagen Commercial Vehicles, Letterkenny, or visit connellys.ie. Terms and conditions apply. Finance provided by the way of hire purchase agreement from Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland and subject to lending criteria. Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Visit volkswagenvans.ie for more information.
Do you need help to make a healthcare complaint? Contact the Patient Advocacy Service. We are free, independent and confidential. We can support you through the complaints process for public acute hospitals and nursing homes across Ireland. Call us on 0818 293 003 or visit patientadvocacyservice.ie.
We're still in the company of William Porter, who was falsely accused of abusing his children by Tusla. And we're going through the timeline of it. And took a break, William, because it is, every time you have to go back through this, it just hammers it back home again. What you went through. We're in 2013 and we've had the first 2 meetings from Tusla. You believe, off the back of what happened in Northern Ireland, a representative from Tusla met with you, then met with your son, and as we were going to the break there, he told you that it was just tying off loose ends, and at that point he was satisfied that your son was safe with you.
That's correct.
Take it from there.
That's correct. About a month or so later, I got a call from another Tusla worker to come to investigate the same allegation. And at this point, I was getting angry because this was crazy what was going on. And that's what prompted me to go to Freedom of Information to see what had been recorded about me. And so I did do that, and that report became available to me in 2014, Greg. Mm-hmm. So it did. And I'll never forget the day that I got the report. I opened it up, I went into my mother's sitting room, and I started to read this. And I couldn't believe what I was reading. The report read that Mr. Porter has acknowledged and showed remorse for the reported incidents, and had, saying that I'd confessed, like Pierce very clearly relayed in the Dáil last week, saying that I'd confessed to all this. And I remember I sat down on my mum's sofa because my legs went weak. I couldn't believe it. And I read it over twice again, and I actually called her. There's a wee hatch in the room. Mm. And she come on and says, "Mum, come on and do you see this?" And she started to read it, and she just could not believe. She just could not believe this.
What extent did they go to fabricate your admittance of these allegations?
Just that I had admitted to doing it, and I'd learned from my mistakes, and I had showed remorse for this. Which, at
that point again, you're starting to say, "Am I in some sort of an alternative reality here?"
Absolutely. And at that time I went to my doctor to tell him what was happening. I said, I need help here. Yeah. I needed to go to speak to somebody, and he referred me to a psychologist in St. Connell's down here who I met with 7 times during 2014.
Were you afraid that going through that process could be weaponised against you as well?
No, I needed to speak. I had a couple of close friends I could speak to, but I was chatting them up. This was forefront of my mind all the time. I wasn't sleeping.
Yeah.
And I needed to go to speak to somebody professional to sit down and speak, and I met with that lady down in St. Connell's during 2014. All the records are there to back this up, what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So that was okay. And that was taking us into the start of 2014. And my contact was still broken. Now, what I'm going to tell you now, I didn't see my daughter for 38 days over a period of time. And I get a call from my ex-wife on a Thursday to say that I can pick up Rachel on the Friday to bring her home for the weekend. And I find that now there's contempt, obviously, because there's broken contact. There's a contempt summons has been issued. So I speak to my closest friend. He says, William, there's something going on here. Don't do it. Wait till you get into court and address the contempt summons. So I rung a legal firm in Derry, and they says, oh, go and pick up your daughter because it'll be frowned upon in the court if you don't pick her up. So I took the legal advice. Much now.
You regret.
I went and picked up my daughter, and me and Mum, and in Castlederrick, and I brought her down to the farm, and she stayed with us for over the weekend. It was a beautiful spring weekend. I'll never forget it. I got a fella to give me a hand to do my work, and I just spent all the time with Rachel. So I hadn't seen her in so long, and I remember Mum was so delighted to see her when we were leaving Castlederrick. She hadn't seen her like in so long, you know. And we come down the road, and we had a great weekend. We went into Derry on the Saturday. We got Rachel a wee dress and next for church on Sunday, and we left her home on the Sunday evening. She went skipping up the lane in her new dress, as happy as Larry. That was okay. On the Monday, I get a call from the Gardaí to tell me that there's been a serious allegation made by my daughter over the weekend that I've punched her 4 times in the stomach. And I know then by this stage that this is you know, totally crazy stuff.
That everything's starting to make sense, to the offer, to your friends warning, to why you shouldn't have taken it legally.
And I remember I rung Murray and I says, you were right, Murray, I'm so wrong, I should listen to you more in the future. He says, I warned you. So it was clear trap what they had done. The guard said to me, you can come into us or we can come and get you. And I said, look, I'll be in 15 minutes. So I went in. And I'll never get it. I walked into the door to the Gardaí, band Gardaí, and she says, I was expecting to see a big monster of a man coming through the door, and she smiled and sort of broke the ice a bit, you know, but in hindsight, it wasn't a great thing.
I know what you're saying, yeah.
So that was okay, Greg. I had been waiting to get into court, and I kept ringing up Cookstown to see when this court thing to do with the contempt, and I rung this morning, I forget the morning, I think it was a Tuesday morning, and she says, you're in court this morning, Mr. Porter. And I rushed up the road in my tracksuit. I wasn't changed or nothing because I hadn't got a letter to say I was in the court. And I remember going up, and they were all waiting for me. They were waiting for me, and I remember I went in, and a solicitor who was working for a legal firm in Oman at the time, I remember him standing up in the court and describing this terrible incident that had happened over the weekend concerning my daughter and what had happened. And I stood up immediately. I says, Your Honour, this is a setup. This is an absolute joke. I hadn't seen my daughter. There was a contempt summons issued, and this is a clear setup here. And I remember the court took it up, says, Mr. Porter, you need legal representation. Yeah. And what happened that day was the Gardaí investigation was initiated into the fabricated punching allegation, and that went on for 11 months. And I had to have supervised contact during that time, Greg, over the 11 months. That started in April, and the investigation lasted 11 months until March 2015. But what happened during the time when I was under supervised contact, this is massive stuff here now that I'm going to reveal. When I was in Castlederrick with my mum, I noticed police were in the area, PSNI. Mm-hmm. And we used to sit in the Red Pepper restaurant, and they were standing outside the door. And I thought maybe there was a band parade on or something, and there was something coming on in the evening. But the first week it happened, I thought nothing of it. The second week I got suspicion. And I remember asking the police officer, I says, why are you hanging about so much? But it very quickly became apparent that they were keeping an eye on me. And now my mum was with me at this time. And what really verified it one day was when my son was with us, we went down, and my daughter returned to her mother, who was working in a shop down the street. My son heard the PSNI officer say to his mum, is it safe for us to leave now? So they were monitoring me while I was in Castlederrick, and my mum was there. My mum seen this too. Like,
did you find yourself, even though your mum would want to be there, bringing your mum so that there was another person there? In other words, so that, like, are you twigged at this point that you're the target of
absolutely, absolutely,
yeah. So to have a third person there, it's a bit of security for you.
I would never would have. At that point, I was so cautious, and at that point, it got to the stage. Even when Rachel was running about, I remember she used to do a wee thing in the garden. She used to come running across the garden to me, and I would jump and throw her up in the air like that. I was even scared to do that at that point.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know what was going to come back. Yeah. You know, I was scared at that point. I was really, really scared.
Paranoid as well, and
yeah.
You know, when you're under that level of scrutiny.
So had the police situation. I was in Castlederg on one of the Tuesdays and I bumped into a lady who would know the family very well. She's a professional lady. And she says, how are you getting on, William? And I says, not good. And I started to tell her what was happening. And she knew the family very well. And she says, I can't believe this. And she had knew certain stuff. She says, I'm going to go forward and tell these people that's a load of nonsense. Well, I says, if you want to do that, you can. And she did go forward. And she relayed what she knew about stuff within the family to social worker C.
Yeah.
But that information was totally covered up, so it was. There was nobody acted, and this is a professional lady who went forward. So they did.
So it was buried, or is
it was totally buried. And the scary thing about it, Greg, was the lady's husband was verbally attacked by my ex-wife in Castlederg. The social services actually told her this lady had went forward.
Now, I mean, like, with everything that you're going through, it's horrendous, okay? But I'm thinking of the Tusla visit, your son having to interact with these people in Northern Ireland or choosing to, and then presumably your daughter being questioned to as it relates to these false allegations were made against you. So you're being victimised here as well. But the impact this is having
massive, and I can't even get into that. I wouldn't even say, because it wouldn't be fair to them to say the impact that this had on them.
I know what you're saying. Yeah. They could say it themselves when it's right for them to say, but you as a dad know
I was watching this.
It's not right.
Yeah. During the investigation, after my daughter had to be interviewed by the Gardaí, she would know. And I'll never forget, it was a Friday night, the sergeant in Lifford rung me. And he says, Wally, you've nothing to fear. The only thing this wee girl would say to the people here today was that people are making me say things about my daddy which are not true, and I want to go and live with my daddy. And that was okay. He says, we've nothing more to do with this. He says, I'm heading away now the weekend, and give your headpiece. He says, this is over.
Still, it's in 11 months.
Yeah, that was in the time frame of 11 months. Incredibly, 3 days later, I'm contacted to say that they're going to conduct another interview. And the social worker who's involved in this at the time, who I would call social worker D now,
right, okay, yeah.
I went to her and I begged her. I says, you must stop this interview. This is child abuse. And she done nothing about stopping the interview. My daughter was interviewed second and thirdly by the Gardaí, which was clear child abuse. And in fairness to the sergeant, when he come home, he rung me, he says, I'm appalled that these other interviews took place. This never should have happened. Well, I am really sorry. Mm-hmm. And at that point, we were at a state. Rachel was so upset. I shouldn't even have said that, but I'm just visualising things now. At that time, it was happening. And my mum and I made it our business at that point to go to the PSNI to tell him what was happening in Strabane. And I just wanted to... at that time too, Greg, I was, you know, I'm just looking here at a couple of things.
You know what, I'll tell you, I'm going to take one quick break.
Yeah.
Because I think we're getting to a very important part of this.
Very important part.
I want you to walk out of here that you feel you've got to say the things in the timeline that you want to. So I'm going to take a 2-minute break, right?
Thank you so much.
And then you can reset to where you want to pick it up from. Is that all right?
Perfect.
All right, back after these.
Think outside the box with your photos this Christmas for canvas prints, Instablocks, mugs and photo books at mcgee's.ie. McGee's Chemist Letterkenny, sponsors of today's 9 till noon show.
No matter who you're shopping for this Christmas, Michael Hinney's have the perfect gift. For the man in your life, we stock premium brands including Tommy Hilfiger, Gant, Barber and Ralph Lauren, as well as trending styles from Carhartt, Superdry, Dickies and the North Face. Shop in store and online at michaelhinney's.com for an amazing range of gifts for men this Christmas at Michael Hinney's.
Giving the gift of sport is made easier at Brian McCormick Sports. New O'Neill's Donegal home jersey for 2024. Available in player and club fit. Out now, in-store and online. New O'Neill's Rockaway Donegal jackets with matching quarter zips and t-shirts. Donegal quarter zips for all kids from only €35. O'Neill's Donegal range for 2024. The perfect Christmas gift for the football family.
Impress this Christmas with magical starters at Lidl. A must-have for special occasions. Our superb deluxe organic smoked salmon, only $4.29. And spread the luxury with our deluxe pate selection, only $3.99. Wishing you a magical Christmas with Lidl.
From the luxurious to the sustainable, beautiful Irish-made products that stand the test of time. Find something you love forever at madelocal.ie. Made local, made to last. Supported by Design and Crafts Council Ireland and me, Lyra.
At Joe McGee Butchers, we have all your needs to make this Christmas dinner extra special. So, if it's a fresh whole turkey, a turkey breast fillet in a vac-pack cooking bag with a cooking pop-up timer, a ham joint or a succulent dry-aged sirloin steak, then call in to Joe McGee Butchers at Glencar Shopping Centre and the Letterkenny Shopping Centre, where we have Christmas all wrapped up for you.
At Nissan, buy any 2-for-1 Nissan e-Power X-Trail or Qashqai and receive a brand new Nissan e-Power in 2025. Choose the Nissan Leaf with 0% finance. Alternatively, you can choose a €2,000 trade-in booster or 3.9% finance options. Visit imotors.ie or call into our showroom in Drumkeen or Malin today.
And now the Highland weather, brought to you by Shop LK. An accumulation of Christmas shoppers will descend on Letterkenny this December. See shoplk.ie or like us on Facebook.
All right, I'll grab the weather for you in a couple of minutes. I just want to continue my conversation here with William Porter, because it's just important that William gets the space to timeline this correctly. I need to get the ads out as well, William, so it kind of works for both of us. But come here, so where do you want to pick up now in the last stage of
when we finished up there, I finished up by saying my mum and I took the decision to go to PSNI in 2015.
Yes, that's correct, yeah.
And it's great that you give me the chance, because there's a couple other wee points I need to put in that happened in 2014 as well. My mum and I went to Social Worker D with letters to her about what was happening and the effects that this was having and what was going on. And she still done nothing. Now, she had been told by both children what was happening and everything, and she threatened us that she was going to have Rachel put into care. She threatened me and my mum. During that time also, we had a meeting with Social Worker C, and she told me and my son at a meeting that she wanted to disassociate herself from what happened at the meeting back in 2013 with Social Worker. We said she wanted nothing to do with it, and she was washing her hands of it.
That's the one that was very upsetting for your son?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So moving then, that's the two wee points that I want to put on there. And then moving then into 2015, we went to the PSNI and we sat with a guy in there. I remember his name. His name was actually Nigel. And we sat with him. We told him everything that had happened. And he just sat shaking his head in disbelief at everything. So we did. And he says, leave this with me and I will do something about this for you, because this is absolutely disgraceful what's going on. And at that point, I had got in touch with the inspector of the police too, because I was keeping them up to date what was going on here all the time, you know. But I'll finish up the story when we get to that. But anyway, that was okay. He done his work. He went and contacted social services, and they brought in another social worker. This is after, of course, the guards had come back. No investigation. There was no prosecution against me. It was all a load of nonsense. The thing was totally fabricated about the punching, and that was done. That was dead for them. So their attack on me didn't work. It backfired on them, actually. So it did. So what I believe happened then, Greg, they sent in Social Worker E. This is the fifth social worker who was involved in working with the children. And she rung me and she said she wanted to meet with me, and I only agreed to meet with her if I asked the questions and she gave me direct, straight answers in relation to the work of the previous 4 social workers. And she agreed to do that. And I have to say, fair play to her. She held her hands up on every question I'd asked her. And she says, there have been massive mistakes made. I want to speak to your son. And I says, Social Worker E, not a chance would I let any of you people near my son after what you have done to him already. And she says, I would ask you to consider that, because go away and consider it, she says, William, and come back to me. And I went and spoke to my son, and God bless him, he says, I will speak to her if it's going to help my wee sister. This terrible situation that she's in. And a meeting was set up with my son and social worker E on the 10th of April 2015, Greg. And it was I'll never forget that day as long as I live. She come to the farm and she met my son and they spoke in the conservatory. I was over in the shed working at Spuds. Excuse me. And it was meant to be no longer than an hour, she said, but I came over after an hour, but they were still in talks. And I went away and they met with each other for up on 2 hours. And when I came back, I could see Andrew was upset. So I could. And he went down the hall in the house, and I'll never forget him walking down the hall in the house, and he went into his room. And I looked at her and I asked her a question. I says, I'll call her social worker E, but I got to know this lady very well. I met her on 12 occasions. I says, what have you done to my family? And here's where her words: we have conducted a witch hunt against you and we have tried to set you up, and I do not know how you've endured to get to where you're at.
But at the same time, as difficult as that is to hear, it validated you and everything that you knew, every argument you made, what you knew.
Yeah.
Someone within the system was recognising it. Was there any relief in that at all?
There
or
was
it just anger that right now you know what I've been going
anger.
through?
How do I say it, Greg? There was a relief because Andrew said to me with tears in his eyes, he says, Daddy, this lady's going to help us at last. And she did to a degree. Of course she did. Because she started to compile a report. She met with the children in numerous times and she done up a report that fully supported Rachel coming into my care. So it did. And that was a massive day. And when she was leaving, she says, apply for a residency order. I says, how can I apply for a residency order when I'm classed as a child abuser in Southern Ireland and I'm a monster in front of Judge Sherd too with false allegations about me? And she, at that point, she says, do it. And I was left bewildered at that. So I did approach a legal team and we did apply for a residency order. And at that point, I did tell her, I says, now my daughter should be brought straight back into my care because this was totally fabricated, this allegation. It was crazy. At that point, I felt that she should have been brought into my care. And fair play to her, she did admit to me down the line that should have happened there and then. Yeah. And my daughter shouldn't have been left where she was for the next year and a bit, sort of thing. So,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
If you want to go into that other thanks, Donald.
So, at that point, we were running out of court a lot of times, and the legal firm we were working, I had applied a legal firm as I was instructed when I stood up and tried to defend myself. When the punching thing was brought out in the court, I had a legal team working for me. They weren't doing as I was instructing, and I got rid of them. I told them, you aren't saying what needs to be said in the court here, what has went on with all the stuff that went on, and I got rid of them, Greg. And I'm just refocusing here again, but do you keep going.
You're going to take 2 minutes for the news to refocus because and then I'm going to keep you about 4 or 5 minutes after the news. Is that all right?
That's okay, Greg. We're getting there. We're getting there.
It's really important. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So it is 11 o'clock. We're going to wrap up with William and his very important story after we get the news headlines, and it's a quick one. Over to Donald Kavanagh now.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. HICWA has published a report on Carndonagh Community Hospital following an unannounced inspection at the end of August. The report notes feedback from residents and families was highly positive, but there were 3 non-compliances noted in the areas of governance and management, premises and fire precautions. In their response, management say a programme of works was initiated after the inspection, which has been substantially completed. You can read the report on our website, highlandradio.com. Higher Education Minister Simon Harris has announced a project to boost apprenticeships. €17 million in funding is being allocated to the higher education sector in order to meet demand, with the largest allocation going to the ATU in Letterkenny. A number of places are being opened up in the areas of metal fabrication, refrigeration and electrical engineering. Stormont's 5 largest parties are at Hillsborough Castle. They're meeting today with Northern Ireland Secretary of State Chris Heaton-Harris. They're discussing plans for the British government to set up a budget for the next financial year if power sharing isn't restored. Talks continue between the UK government and the DUP. Grocery inflation has been measured at 8.6% over the past 3 months. Figures from Kantar show the level of price increases in supermarkets is still above the rest of the economy. And Donegal County Council is to explore the possibility of developing a marine safety initiative similar to the Road Safety Roadshow, which has been attended by thousands of transition year students in the county. And there are the headlines. Back with headlines again at 12 noon.
Okay, Donald, thank you very much indeed for that. And our competitions are coming up soon. Get your phone, have it close to you, because I'm going to be ringing someone very, very soon. But I just don't want to rush my chat with William Porter here, because it's really important. And I think, and as I was saying to you just before we came back here, maybe not on the scale that you've experienced, but this story will resonate with a lot of people out there. And I think you had a lot of opportunities to give in, to stop, to sort of say, I can't do this anymore, or the system is so against me, I can't beat them. I can't listen to any more advice, because every time I do, it almost makes things worse. I think you showed incredible love of your children and strength through your friendship, and it sounds like your mum was your rock there as well to stick through this. So in the last few minutes then, William, and we could do 3 or 4 hours on this, I think, and it's such an important story, it would be justified. But you've applied for custody of your children now at this point. Your son is with you. You were advised to do so at that point. There is someone within the system admitting that you were the victim of a witch hunt, effectively, by the system.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's what it was.
North and south.
North and south. So what
moving forward, on the 23rd of June 2016, I'm in court. Judge Loughran's adjudicating that day, and she brings Rachel into my care after me having a lengthy battle with my ex-wife's barrister and solicitor, and she brings her into my care. And I'll never forget her words. She says, "This is a great day for Rachel." You know, and I remember my legs went sort of weak.
But for the right reasons this time.
Yeah. And I remember I come outside the court and I sat down the steps of the court, and I walked my wee car down. She was down the bottom of the hill, and I just was totally overcome. And I just give thanks to the Lord that, because I had prayed in 2009 that I would get her back, and it took me 7 years, and that's a number of completion. And she was back after 7 years. You know, we got her home, and really then, you know, it was just wonderful that she could be reunited and spend her time back in the farm and be with her granny and granda. And she loved her granny. She loved her granda so much. They were so close, you know, and he had missed her desperately, you know, when she was away, because they were so close. And it was just...
And him probably bottling it up. I don't know if he was or was he a very expressive person, but the grandads tend to sort of...
He did. They bottled it up, surely, but he broke a few times.
They feel it, but they don't show it necessarily.
No.
They feel it in a real level.
So we got her back.
Yeah.
And really then, Greg, I run into health difficulties myself. I developed... I took a frozen shoulder, my left side. It moved to the other side. During 2016 and 17, my arms, I couldn't get my arms up above my shoulder height at all. And my friend took me for scans, and nothing was showing up in the scans. And it ended up, it was just pure pressure, and the body was just starting to shut down. Other things too. I found a cyst, so I did. I thought the worst. Thank the Lord it wasn't. And, you know, those things were all going on. And during this time, 2016, I'd went to Pierce about the Southern situation, because I was getting no joy from Tussle. They wouldn't eradicate the records. And Pierce got involved. And God bless Pierce. I just cannot thank him much for what he done. You know, he started to work for me on the Southern side, on that end of things.
So the record's cleared in the
totally cleared.
Your record's cleared, and even an apology from Tussle.
An apology from Tussle, and we got a review set up under the case in 2017, and I met with a guy from Tussle down there on 9 occasions, also 7 with the clinical psychologist, of 9 with this guy, and he recommended a full apology. So we did. You know, there was, and he stated, he says, the two cases are inextricably linked. The two are inextricably linked. So that, you know, that was a recommendation. And, you know, then moving forward on 2016, I got the residency order. Pierce become involved, started to work on the Southern thing for me, which I wouldn't be here today. And I can't reiterate enough how much Pierce helped me. And the review was carried out of the case, full apology recommended, and that apology come in July 2018. And that was a massive lift. My father, I remember when my mum read it to him, he was unconsolable in the room, and it took such a weight.
That's maybe when the pressure was relieved for him. That was his point. You know what I mean? You've had the different, but that was the time where he, it's like the old steam cooker, letting the pressure.
It was such a relief.
Vindication.
Yeah. It certainly was a massive
because
thing.
Because allegations like this cut through your parents' hearts like a knife, because they're worried about their grandchildren, but they're worried about their son. Your son's your son. It doesn't matter if he's he's 8 or if he's 48. He's still.
Well, this is where I have to say, my mum never doubted me for 1 second. She never doubted. She was a woman of great faith. And I had a wee girl come to me one time. She says, "William, they're saying wild things about you down in the local village." She heard them saying the shop, and she confronted them, and she had the courage to come forward to me.
I didn't even think about that side of it.
There was so much of that. But that's one instance, Greg.
I know, but I didn't. In all of this, I kind of in my head was thinking this is all private behind closed doors, but of course it's not. The word gets out, which is painful, and that's painful for the wider family as well. So what's the situation then? Sorry, go ahead.
So there's two other things I need to tell you happened in 2017 then, along with. So what I done, my fear was that there's other people out there. I knew if one man had taken his life, who Pat had told me about. Pat left Dublin one night. He said, "William, I'm leaving a man here very similar to yourself. I'm going to call you for a cup of tea on the way back." And Pat, he didn't show up, and he rang me at 11 o'clock to tell me that the man had taken his life. This is how severe. This is why I'm here today, Greg, because I want to stop this happening to another family in Northern Ireland or Southern Ireland. Something has to be put in place. And these people in Northern Ireland haven't been dealt with in any way whatsoever. I don't know, we're waiting for word to come back from the Minister what Tussla have done regarding the South. But it's Northern Ireland is my massive concern at this point, that these people are still in their place of work, which is, it's shocking. It's absolutely shocking. But there was 2 meetings then in 2017 that I had. I finally got a meeting with the CEO of the Western Trust, me and my mum, on the 28th of September 2017. And I asked her 12 questions. The first question I asked her was, "Are you responsible for these 5 social workers?" And she says, "I am 100%. And to proceed, I asked her another 11 questions. She answered no comment to every single one of the questions.
Wow.
11 questions based on the welfare of the children. She answered no comment every time. I did say to her when I was leaving, I says, "You're an absolute disgrace to your position." And I remember looking out at the Galvin Hospital, seeing people walking about. I says, "Those people, I will never stop until I get this sorted out for what has happened here." Then, a few weeks later, I went to Social Worker E on the 10th of November. So I did. 2017. Yes. And I went to her and I says, "Social Worker E, I know her name so well, but I know I can't say it here." I says, "I want you to initiate a review into the case. What has happened?" And she says, "I won't be doing that, William. You got what you wanted. You're looking for a stage for yourself." I says, "You told me one day that you hadn't got to the bottom of me yet." And I says, "I'm not here for a stage. I'm saying I'm just trying to prevent this happening to another family." And she wouldn't budge. And I did. When I was leaving, I says, "You have a chance here today to put this right. But if you don't, you will only fuel me. And you know me now. I've come this far. You will only fuel me to get to the end of this and get something done." And her words to me were, and I have to say, I had a regard for her, but here's when I lost my regard for her. She says, "The Trust have dealt with a lot of bigger people than you in their time."
So there's sort of an institutionalised, we dictate what goes on. And right, so
that brings us on then to 2018, Chris, or Greg, sorry. Chris and me, I was speaking to my nephew this morning.
I know you have a few important Chris's in your life, so I've been called worse. Go ahead, William.
The apology come in 2018. I just had to go back and say those 2 meetings in 2017, and one final meeting that I have to tell you about, which was massive. I had been telling the Chief Inspector over all the police in Omagh, a man I got to know pretty well. And I had a meeting with him in September 2018. And I went to the meeting. He wasn't aware that I had the apology this time, but I'd been keeping him in the picture of what was happening regarding everything that was going on. And I went into him at a 2-hour meeting with him. My friend was with me. And I laid the whole thing down and took it from start to finish. And I says, my good man, we have the final piece of the jigsaw here today and you have a job to do. And I threw down the apology in front of him. And he said to me, this is terribly serious. These people need to be removed from their place of work. Well, I says, you have the authority to do it. It needs to be done. He says, I will see if there's something done. He says, we have to go through the criminal. He felt it was criminal what had went on, and I feel it was criminal too. He says, we have to go through the criminal investigation unit in Antrim. But after that, I had that meeting with him in 2018, and I never heard a word from him after that. Not one word. I went through the ombudsman, and they come back with nothing to investigate.
And are you pursuing that in the north? Like, is it important? You want your record expunged, cleared up there too? I mean, or could you not say, or does any part of you say, you know what, I've been at this now since effectively 2010, 2011.
Well,
I'm going to let it slide. Like, what motivates you to keep at it?
What motivates me to keep at this, Greg, is these people are still in a place of work.
It's for other people not to be...
Not to happen to somebody else. Okay. Something has to be done within the system to stop this happening in Northern Ireland again. You know, and this is years on down the line. I even tried this summer to meet with the court children's officer with all this stuff and make her aware of proceedings that had concluded in Southern Ireland last December in the High Court. But she wasn't prepared to meet with me. So it's a clear cover-up. Totally, in Northern Ireland, by the PSNI.
What is the root cause of this? Is any part of this, or was any part of this about concerns for children's welfare? Or at some point, did you rub people up the wrong way?
No.
And then you were going to... Do you get where I'm coming from?
I went into every meeting gracious. I never raised my voice.
But I'm trying to think, what was the motivation to... do you get where I'm coming from? If it's not the child welfare, then it must be you or something. What was...
I'll tell you what I think happened. I think there was a lie told at the very beginning. And social workers didn't act, those 5 social workers didn't act in the benefit of the children. And instead of dealing with a problem that was very early, the whole thing got a snowball effect, and it was a snowball they couldn't handle at the end. And I kept hanging in there, and it was a snowball they couldn't handle at the end. So that's where we're at today.
All right. Well, listen.
That led us under the court last week. I've told it as, there's a couple of wee things that I've missed here and there. I know there's things flashing through my head. There's so much.
I know. But I think, to be honest with you, what you have told us is it's shocking. It can't happen again, but unfortunately it is happening. And I hope in you speaking out and with the backing that you have that. But I think we can't expect change from, say, for instance, what's happening in Northern Ireland unless it's recognised there was a problem. You see, you can't move forward and sort of make sure this doesn't happen to other people until they say, right, we completely got this wrong and what we did was wrong.
Well, Greg, this is an opportunity now for our minister here in the Republic of Ireland to approach Northern Ireland and get this opened up and get this addressed and get it sorted out. And I would hope that they would be able to come forward and apologise in the north as well as has happened in the south, because it's clear to see. Ask social worker, he admitted to me. Ask the Tussler representative who carried out the investigation into the case. Said, I sat in a meeting with the CEO of Tussler, and he admitted to myself and a member from Niall, my friend, that this was clearly come from Northern Ireland. They orchestrated this. This was a witch hunt. And I have to compliment them all. I got to give them 10 out of 10. They give it a damn good try.
Well, they nearly destroyed you.
Yeah.
Only for your own resilience and the people around you and Deputy Doherty's interference. They may have succeeded.
They probably would.
Okay.
I just want to finish by saying,
yes, William.
I know I'm probably on here far longer than I should be.
Well, it's Wednesday now. How many jokes? It's important, William. Go on, finish up with what you want to say.
People would come and say to me, how did you do that, or how did you get through that?
Yeah.
And what I would say to people is that I read Psalm 51 every morning.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a sinner myself, and my son is before me, Greg. I'm not a perfect person. I'm not a perfect parent. And I want to say to forgive all these people who have done what they've done to my family.
Mm-hmm.
If they were here now, I would say to them, I forgive yous. And the only reason I got through this was there's 2 verses that stand out for me so much. As my mum used to always say this to me: I can do all through He who gives me strength, and no weapon formed against me shall prosper. And the only reason that I'm here today is because of my belief, full belief in the Lord Jesus Christ, or I would not be here today, and I would never have got this far. Pierce helped me, I had close friends around me, but that's the reason I'm sitting here today, to tell this story. And I would pray that something could be done, that this would not happen to another family. That's what I would ask. In Jesus' name I pray.
On that note, listen, thank you for all your time this morning. I appreciate it. It's a very difficult story to have to relive, because in timelining it and picking up particular meetings and instances, you're having to go through that again, and that emotion that you felt on those days. But I think, as you say, it's important, and we need to change the system that, you know, it needs to be held to account. But William, for now, listen, thanks so much.
Thank you, Greg, for having me
on. And best wishes to you and all of your family.
Chanel, Flowerbomb, Lancôme, Giorgio Armani, Paco Rabanne. Where else but at McGee's Chemist, Letterkenny, this Christmas. Sponsors of today's 9 till noon show.
Send Christmas smiles from Alcorn's festive flower selection. Lovingly remember those we miss with a tribute from our Christmas selection. All our orders are handmade in store, so please order early. Wishing you your best Christmas from all at Alcorn's.
I've been looking after Mum for a good few years now. It's been hard at times. It's been difficult to find time for myself. I've even had to stop work.
You've worked hard caring for others. Now the state pension can work for you. If you've spent 20 years or more caring for a loved one who couldn't care for themselves, you can now use the time spent caring to qualify for a contributory state pension. Terms and conditions apply. Find out more at gov.ie/pension. A Government of Ireland initiative brought to you by the Department of Social Protection.
Hi, Tommy Bow here. Get in store to check out my new 15 Kings clothing collection, available in premium gents outfitters nationwide and at 15kings.com.
Millionaire Raffle from the National Lottery is back. With 1 millionaire guaranteed and over €6.3 million in cash prizes to be won, it's the biggest ever. The draw is on New Year's Eve and tickets are limited to 600,000. The National Lottery. It could be them. Gift responsibly.
Hi, Paddy here at Shane Conley Cars in Donegal Town. Are you looking to upgrade your car? With Shane Conley Cars, you'll find makes and models for every budget. Great finance options, and we also accept trade-ins. Check out ShaneConleyCars.com or call in to us at Shane Conley Cars from Lonaher Road, Donegal Town.
Do you need a UK address? Save hundreds of euros on custom charges shopping online with Space Hub Dairy. We provide a full virtual address mailbox service for all your business and personal use. Save hundreds, possibly thousands, on custom charges with Space Hub Dairy. Call 048 71 87 8077 or online spacehubdairy.com for more details.
We've one planet and it's ours to protect. From repairing to swapping to creating and recreating. Learn the changes you can make every Tuesday at 12:30 to live a little greener. Tune into Ours to Protect on Highland Radio with me, Donna Marie.
Ours to Protect is brought to you by Highland Radio, the IBI, and funded by Commissioner Mann with the television licence fee. Check out ourstoprotect.ie for more information.
If you're not with Uno Energy, chances are you're paying more than you need to for your electricity. As Ireland's newest energy supplier, we offer Ireland's cheapest electricity rates, saving our customers up to €355 a year. So if you want to pay less for energy, simply pay a visit to unoenergy.ie and sign up for big savings with smaller bills. With Uno Energy, you just know. Uno Energy discount rate EAB €1665. Supplier's pricing may change. For T's and C's and rates, see unoenergy.ie.
We're joined on the programme now by Professor Paul Dunlop, School of Geography and Environmental Science, Ulster University. Good morning, Paul. Sorry for coming to you a little later than we anticipated.
No problem, Greg. Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
No, it's important to have you on. And Andreas Lehmann, Group Leader with Concrete Technology. Good morning to you, Andreas.
Good morning, Greg.
Oh, you are there. Thank you. I couldn't see you for a moment. Great to have you with us. Paul, I might start with you, if that's okay, because, work is continuing in terms of, analysis, investigation, research into what is causing thousands of homes across Donegal in the country to fall to bits effectively. And we're learning all the time, and there's been quite a significant breakthrough, hasn't there, been in terms of understanding defective concrete and the extent to which it damages the property, both above and below ground, I suppose you could say.
Yeah, that's right. You're well aware that we were commissioned by Geological Survey of Ireland. They run a large research project, a €500,000 research project that was funded by Department of Housing, Local Heritage, Local Government and Heritage. So this is effectively government-funded research, and we were commissioned to look at defective concrete block homes in Donegal. And we've looked at the outer leaf, inner leaf, rising blocks, and also for the first time, the foundation concrete, the strip foundation, which hasn't been looked at before. And we have found direct evidence that the primary mechanism of failure is a process known as internal sulfate attack, which is caused by pyrite. It's happening on the inner walls, outer walls, rising blocks, and there's also the beginning phase of that with sulfur being released in the strip foundation. So that's the first time we now know that basically all concrete units in the house are at risk of failure and failing quite badly, particularly in the outer leaf.
So just in relation to that, it won't happen, will it, at the same pace necessarily as the outer leaf and then the inner leaf, but it would seemingly then make no sense to rebuild a house on top of these foundations because over time, and that's yet to be determined, they are likely to fail.
Yeah, well, it's clear that the problem is sulfur that's being released from pyrite, which turns into sulfuric acid and starts chemical reactions in the concrete. And then the foundations that we've looked at on this research project, we have found clear evidence that pyrite is at the early stage of oxidizing, which is releasing the sulfur. And once you've got the sulfur released into the cement and the concrete, then you've got the potential there for internal sulfate attack to progress. It's going to progress at a slower rate for different reasons. And I have to leave at 11:25, so I'm going to pass on to Andreas, and Andreas can take you across on the technical details.
Come here, Paul. Do you know
there are different conditions that will dictate whether it happens at a faster or slower rate?
And I know you're having another appointment, and this is completely our fault, Paul, and we will return to it. But so as you have time, I'll say goodbye to you now. And I know Andreas I think he's got the qualifications to carry this forward, hasn't he?
Yeah, you're in good hands.
He'll be all right. Okay, listen, Paul, Professor Paul Dunlop, thank you very much indeed. I appreciate it. So, Andreas, what does this mean then in terms of the current scheme and its current workings? We can't have sort of the scheme and the science and then this science sort of running side by side and not intertwining, can we? It would make no sense.
Of course, the results of the research, they have to directly flow into the decision making. And, right now we know that the rising wall and the foundations are affected as well. And if you have this internal sulfate attack, you have different phases. You have a first phase that is linked to the formation of ettringite that causes expansion, and the second phase linked to the formation of thomsite that causes strength loss. Now, if you look at the different components of a home, the outer leaf, strongest affected, is at the beginning of the strength loss phase of the 3 affected houses that we have now looked in. And the rising wall is in full swing. It's expanding. And we are at the very early stage in the foundation. This causes, has different implications. Now imagine you have your home is standing on a rising wall that, let's say, expands 1%. If your rising wall is 2 meters high, this will uplift your entire home for 2 centimeters. And this, of course, it's inhomogeneous and it will cause cracking. So this is terrible.
So, What does this... I'm sorry to ask the basic question, because I think an awful lot of people listening to us, particularly those affected by it, will really... The science is important, but will want to know what it means for their homes and really for the scheme. So, the scheme, there are buildings still working through it. There's options, different options, outer leaf, inner leaf, demolition. There's still no decision seemingly on the foundation. So some people might go, well, I don't want to progress if I'm going to end up having to toss this house again in 10 or 15 years. So I know it's the government's job to sort of work with the science that you're providing, but what do you think this means to the current scheme and how we're resolving the problem of defective concrete?
Conclusions is clear. Everything has to be removed. Outer inner leaf, clearly the rising wall. And then, it's a question, what is a home built for? Is it a one-generation home? Or shall it be a family home for more generations? If you look at a longer time scale, then it's clear the foundation has to be replaced, because these homes that we have studied are 20 years old. And yes, we have the start of internal sulfate attack, and we will have expansion at one point. And if you think, okay, a home is for 20, 25 years, then you're okay. But if you think in longer time scales, I would clearly recommend the foundations to be replaced.
Is this, with all the science that has been done, is this very specific to a specific area where quarrying takes place and the quarrying practices, or are you finding out anything that expands your concern beyond where it seems the majority of this concrete came from?
It is the source of the aggregates is clear where it is, and all the concrete that was produced with this type of aggregate has the potential to be deteriorating, cracking, and so on. Of course, we know of other quarries that contain iron sulfates as well. For example, we know the Mayo cases with the rhomboidal pyrite. That is a problem as well. But the pyrrhotite here in Donegal, that's all coming from the same rock formations.
All right. This is incredibly valuable information, not just for us here in Donegal, but this work that you've been doing has global ramifications, if you know what I mean. I know it's going to be unveiled in Quebec, but this is really important information, I think, for every country going forward.
I think so. And it clearly shows that the standard for aggregates, the European standard, that clearly specifies the upper limit of sulfur present in your aggregates if you have pyrrhotite, that this is more or less correct. Because the homes that we have investigated now, the sulfur content is far above this limit value. And if there would have been any action to make market surveillance in Ireland at the point, or from the point where this standard was published, 2002, then the entire disaster would have been preventable.
All right, it is fascinating stuff. I'd love to return to this with you and the professor when it's just been one of those days here, Andreas. But thank you so much for your time. It's great to have access to someone who's leading this research because it's so critical. Thank you so much. Have a lovely day. That's Andreas Lehmann there, who is a group lead with the concrete technology. We heard too from Professor Paul Dunlop, School of Geography and Environmental Science, Ulster University. It is the 9 till noon show. Coming up very shortly, we are going... just a note in here from Councillor Frank McBurty. We are the first to expose the foundations by testing them, and we are the first to have Petrolab do the sulfate attack analysis, proving mica is not the cause of the structural defects in this scandal. That's fantastic. The more of us, especially intelligent people such as the councillor there, if we were all working together, I think we'd even get to a resolution on this even more quickly. I'm not saying that I don't know the ins and outs, but it's the sooner we're all on the same page, I suppose, it's better, is it? I don't know. Right, okay. Right, someone's phone's going to be ringing in the next 10 to 15 minutes. That person is just going to win €1,000. It's simple as that. The only caveat is that you must have entered the card draw. Many of you have. We have 1,000 to give away today. Hopefully someone answers the phone within 5 or 6 rings. If they do, they win the 1,000. It's as simple as that. If not, it's rolled over. There's going to be €10,000 in cash given out over the next 5 to the next 10 working days, Monday to Friday. So effectively, 3,000 could go on Wednesday. You get me? Just want to make sure that everyone knows what's what, because it does roll over. But hopefully, and I think the Northwest is beside their phones. We're going to be doing that very shortly. So bear with us. And also, too, someone's going to come on and win a fantastic prize from McGee's. It's all about the giveaways. Stay right where you are.
Think outside the box with your photos this Christmas for canvas prints, Instablocks, mugs and photo books at mcgees.ie. McGee's Chemist Letterkenny, sponsors of today's 9 till noon show.
Put your money where your heart is this Christmas with a Strabane gift card. Purchasing a Strabane gift card is the perfect way to support local businesses and can be used in over 70 businesses, making it the perfect gift this Christmas. So, love local today. Buy the Strabane gift card at O'Neill's Sportswear, the Alley Theatre, or online at lovestrabane.com.
Is fúine atá sé leictreachas a úsáid bhealach níos cliste agus níos glise. Ag Electric Ireland, táimeann seach an tróir a thuirteart. Le faisnéis fleanan na méidir cliste, luchtú EV sáile agus panéil ghréine in our net zero hub nua. Déan dúsáid níos soléire, turais níos glise, baile níos teolaí agus saol níos giile. Tuilleadh eolais ag electricireland.ie.
McCullough Jewelers in Letterkenny are synonymous with fine jewellery, quality watches and giftware, with stores at Main Street, Letterkenny and the Letterkenny Shopping Centre, or online at ormccullough.com. You can choose from their quality product range in a relaxed atmosphere, and their sales staff will be happy to help you make the right choice, whatever the occasion. McCullough Jewelers, making moments magical for generations.
This Christmas at Super Value, we have great offers to help you share the magic, like Super Value Fresh Irish Round Roast better than half price, and Oyster Bay Sauvignon Blanc 6-pack €50, exclusive to Real Rewards members only. Plus, get money off vouchers every week on the Real Rewards app too. Share the magic this Christmas with Super Value in store or online. Enjoy alcohol responsibly. T's and C's apply.
The winner takes all at the Cope Dunlow's Christmas Advent Countdown. Spend over €50 in any of the Cope stores from now until December 23rd for your chance to win the entire contents of the Advent calendar, worth over €3,000. T's and C's apply. See in store for details and for daily Advent reveals. See the Cope Dunlow on Facebook.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
Okay, the time is 11:32. I am behind on one commercial break, okay? So what I'm going to do is fire that break, and then within 3.5 minutes, we're going to be ringing someone to win €1,000 in cash. So stay right where you are. We'll be right back with that.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Chanel, Flowerbomb, Lancôme, Giorgio Armani, Paco Rabanne. Where else but at McGee's Chemist, Letterkenny, this Christmas. Sponsors of today's 9 till noon show.
If you're doing some shopping today and fancy taking the weight off your feet or forgetting about having to cook when you get home, take a seat at Kelly's award-winning diner in Letterkenny and select from a menu that's packed with great value, family favourite choices. Relax over a coffee and sandwich, maybe a bite of lunch, something for dinner, or a treat from the dessert menu. Great food and great service every day at Kelly's Diner, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
Vi mes amale de marcha kaite gus rinne men rodi kena ein an choile lá ach an sin richts muoine blom in joon lá. Ní ra me mach mór an le derne ach vi sagam gomach mo hardi ag immert beriste in nacht agus hokramentach ágal agus tamala chahan na gudeachta. Og sé ardó crígam ma han harde e caloríist. Dere me wem an cólódar.
Chéim tamala gólúdar dini eile chan tarvidar hánse a góni. Beidir gúil sin am aia chót ar an síl mór a ríist. Seachtracht ó éir lánsúl.
At
At Centra, we've got amazing Christmas offers this week, like Cadbury Milk Tray 530 gram now €10. Inspired by Centra Chocolate Yule Log 600 gram now €8. And Santa Rita Selected Range €8 each. Perfect for stocking up for Christmas. Shop smart, feel festive at Centra. Enjoy alcohol sensibly.
It's time to transform your smile with the help of Blue Poppy Dental, Letterkenny and Donegal Town. Their expert team offer orthodontics, teeth whitening, implants and composite bonding all in-house. Start your journey by calling 074 97 40404 or easily book your appointment online at a time that suits you through their user-friendly patient portal. Available anytime, anywhere at bluepoppydental.com. Blue Poppy Dental and Orthodontics, Letterkenny and Donegal Town. Gift vouchers available.
Make your next menswear choice at Watson Menswear Letterkenny. From suits to casual wear, there's big names to choose from like Andre, Tom Penn, Rimazumo, Superdry, Penguin and Tommy Bow. If you're going to a special occasion or big event, get fitted in style at Watson Menswear, open 7 days a week on Main Street, Letterkenny, online at watsonmenswear.com or follow on social media for details of offers and new arrivals. The Christmas Club is also now open and a small deposit will secure any item.
It's time to give your favourite hotel the recognition they deserve. Nominate now for the Highland Radio Hospitality Awards at highlandradio.com. Hurry! Let's celebrate excellence together. Nominations close on December 13th.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. So as you know, we have our big car draw, which is ongoing here at the moment. We have a beautiful new car worth over €30,000 for you to win just before Christmas. And then lo and behold, we decided to mix things up a little bit and we are giving effectively €1,000 a day away over the next 10 working days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday. So we're going to give away, hopefully, our first €1,000 right now. So let's see if the person is listening and takes the call. Hello, are you there? Hello, is that Anne?
Yeah, this is Anne.
Hi, Anne. This is Greg Hughes at Highland Radio. How are you?
Oh, my God.
Are you well?
I am good.
Come here, did you enter the car draw by any chance?
I did.
Because you know, as part of that, we're giving €1,000 away a day, and yours was the lucky winning ticket that was drawn out a couple of minutes ago. We've rang you, you've answered your phone. You know what that means, don't you?
Oh my God!
You've won €1,000. You've got €1,000 in your pocket, and congratulations to you.
Oh, thanks a minute.
No problem. And
I just won the credit union car there about a month ago.
Really? Okay, well now you've €1,000 to fill up your credit union free car with petrol or diesel for the next God knows how long. Do you have the lotto numbers?
No.
Are you always this lucky? Has this just been a lucky couple of months for you?
Just a lucky couple of months. I've never won any in my life.
Well, there you go. It's like buses now. You'll probably win it again, knowing you, Anne. So your number is back in the draw drum, okay? So theoretically, you could be getting another call over the next couple of weeks to win €1,000. Or indeed, you could have your second new car of the year if you're lucky enough, just as we do that draw in the run-up to Christmas. But for now, Anne, congratulations. You have €1,000. What are you going to do with it?
Oh, I don't know yet.
Just put it in the glove box of your new car and drive around the place, your new credit union car. All right, brilliant stuff, Anne. I'm delighted for you, and it's good to hear people having a bit of luck. Fair play to you. Stay listening on the run up to Christmas. You could win again. Who's to say?
Oh, thanks a million, Greg. Thank you.
Take care, Anne. Bye-bye. That's Anne Doherty there, who won our first €1,000. Another €1,000 will be given away tomorrow. Across the programming here in Highland Radio, so you have to listen right across the day. You don't know when it's going to be drawn out. We might give you a wee indication, but anyway. So that's the first €1,000 winner in the bag. We'll be back with more on the 9 till noon show after this quick break.
Hugo Boss, Victor and Rolf, Dior, Marc Jacobs and Carolina Herrera. Where else but at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny, where you'll find the biggest names in perfume and aftershave this Christmas. Sponsors of today's 9 till noon show.
This Christmas, choose from a great selection of gift ideas at Michael Murphy Sports, including this year's hottest gift, the new Donegal GAA jersey. Our 6-sock gift boxes make the perfect gift for Liverpool, Man United, Arsenal or Celtic fans. See michaelmurphysports.ie or call into Michael Murphy Sports at Station Roundabout, Letterkenny.
At Aldi, we've got cracking Christmas offers throughout the store. 20% off all specially selected wines. And super savings every day with Aldi's Super 6 Fresh Fruit and Veg. Now from only 39¢, both from December 7th. There's €40,000 worth of Aldi gift cards to be won with Holly Lane Christmas Mini Bites. And fresh whole Irish turkeys for an incredible $8.99. On sale December 20th. So what are you waiting for? Aldi. Share the love this Christmas. Terms apply. Visit aldi.ie for details. Get the facts. Be drink aware. Visit drinkaware.ie.
Hello there. Christmas is the perfect time for saying thank you. And what better way than to give a Harvey's Point gift card. Available from the hotel on 07497 22208 or from harveyspoint.com. It's the gift that keeps on giving all year round. A Harvey's Point gift card.
Do you need a UK address? Save hundreds of euros on custom charges shopping online with Space Hub Dairy. We provide a full virtual address mailbox service for all your business and personal use. Save hundreds, possibly thousands, on custom charges with Space Hub Dairy. Call 048 71 87 8077 or online spacehubdairy.com for more details.
I've been looking after Mum for a good few years now. It's been hard at times. It's been difficult to find time for myself. I've even had to stop work.
You've worked hard caring for others. Now the state pension can work for you. If you've spent 20 years or more caring for a loved one who couldn't care for themselves, you can now use the time spent caring to qualify for a contributory state pension. Terms and conditions apply. Find out more at gov.ie/pension. A Government of Ireland initiative brought to you by the Department of Social Protection.
And now the Highland Forecast, brought to you by Shop LK. Widespread Christmas shopping this December in Letterkenny. See shoplk.ie or like us on Facebook.
Okay, this morning will be mainly dry with sunny spells. Rain will develop in the west in the late afternoon and will spread eastwards, turning heavy at times. It'll clear early tonight. Highest temperature 7 or 8 degrees in freshening south to southeast winds. Now, our Monday focus is focused on road safety. As Christmas approaches, we remind you to stay safe on the roads and remember to buckle up, obey speed limits and never ever drink or drug drive. And to try and drive home that message, we have in studio with us Inspector Seamus McGonigal, head of the Roads Policing Unit here in County Donegal. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us, Seamus.
Good morning, Greg.
We also have in studio with us John Joe McGowan, Chief Ambulance Officer with the HSC Ambulance Service based in the West. Thank you so much for joining us as well, John Joe. And what we're engaged in here is actually really incredibly simple, is that we have a thing in this country that wreaks death and devastation on individuals and families, and to a great extent, it is completely avoidable. Now, I mean, not completely, but this is in our gift not to ruin this period or make it a nightmare for families going forward as it ends up being an anniversary or whatever. And Seamus McGonigal, Inspector Seamus McGonigal, that's what this is all about, isn't it? You're trying to urge people to do all the right things and best limit the chances of losing their lives or having life-changing injuries on our road.
Correct, Greg. As I've said here before, we don't really have road traffic accidents. We have road traffic collisions. And as you rightly point out, these collisions are avoidable in the vast majority of cases. And again, we speak of these lifesaver offences. Drugs and drink driving, speeding, not wearing your seatbelts and using mobile phones or other devices when you're actually driving. If people adhere to the rules, these collisions would not take place. These people that are deceased on the road, you see the figures increased again nationally this year. These people will be here for Christmas this year rather than deceased.
And obeying speed limits that are below the 100 kilometres, the 60s, the 50s, the 30s. I know we say it in the past that these aren't targets, you know what I mean? These are the upper limits. But the difference in the outcomes of a collision dependent on speed. There's some interesting information here. I don't know if you want to go through it, if you want me to read it, Seamus, but the speed is a huge factor in the outcomes of these collisions.
I think, Greg, it's all about an appropriate speed. We have speed limits, but they're the maximum safe speed you can drive in perfect conditions. But often because of weather or other variables, the actual, we might be, say, 50 on the sign, but driving at 50 kilometres an hour in a particular set of circumstances is completely and wholly inappropriate. So it's all about driving at an appropriate speed for the circumstances at any given time. And as you correctly point out, and I'm sure John Joe from the ambulance service is all too aware of it, the faster you're driving, and the more likelihood is there'll be serious or fatal consequences if you collide with another vehicle or pedestrian.
Yeah, because we all have to share the roads. So this data really applies to pedestrians involved in collisions, and it really is quite shocking, the difference, potential outcomes at 60 kilometres per hour versus 30, John Joe.
Yeah, Greg, it's huge, the consequences that speed, and as Seamus says, drink and drugs affect road users and affect the consequences of accidents. And I suppose Christmas is such a special time, really, and then every time of the year is a devastation to have the word come to some people's door of a fatality in a road traffic accident.
It's everyone's worst nightmare.
But at Christmas, I suppose it really hones in on it. We like to think on it, your head's like an egg and the yolk is your brain, and you see how fragile that is. There's not really much difference between that and your head, and creating head injuries, even at very low speeds. Like if you take it now for the likes of Christmas and presents and e-scooters, quad bikes, all that goes with it. And it's so simple to come off them, have a serious head injury, and be left with devastation consequences through a whole family.
And it's not always speed either, it's how you fall.
Yeah, very simply fall.
It,
Like we've even seen consequences of people slipping and falling on ice and having devastating injuries. But as you said at the very start, there is simple things that we can do to try and avoid this. Even, and I've noticed it myself over the last number of weeks, people walking on roads without high-vis jackets, it's lethal, to be honest. And them small things, all the small things really make a huge difference. We break it down at Christmas. I suppose Christmas is the perfect time because it's everything. It's a risk manager's worst nightmare because there's everything going on there. But we break it down into the young and then the older groups. And for the young, it's the likes of the Christmas present. Myself and Seamus was hightailed to a meeting with for Santa and his Health and Safety Committee a couple of weeks ago, and they've promised that if the likes of the scooters and that are delivered on Christmas morning, that there will be helmets and all that delivered with it. And we know, look, it's not cool to be wearing the helmet and the high vis and the knee pads and all that there, but it's things like that that saves lives.
Yeah. And also to Seamus, you know, some people will take risks all the time, but I think particularly at Christmas or festive periods or a bank holiday, that there's a decision that's made, a split decision. It's like, right, is there not a taxi? I'm going to walk home in my dark clothes. I can't get a lift home, but there's a car there with 5 people. Sure, I'll hop on their laps in the back. Or, you know what I mean? Sometimes these awful scenarios come from that split-second decision that we make. How do we, and often maybe can be under the influence, okay? Or any of us here, you know. So it's trying to get people not to make that decision that leads to a chain of events.
I think there's an onus on us all, and I say us all, you know, to make that sensible decision, not to give in at the last minute. And of course, all our inhibitions are reduced slightly when we have alcohol on board, again, which the vast majority of us all do, especially so over the Christmas period. But it's incumbent on us all to make the sensible, responsible decision, and don't take that chance. Because you're not just taking a chance with your own well-being, you're taking a chance with it for other road users and other citizens, your other friends and families and people around you. So you just stop and think. Before you make that foolish decision, stop and think and don't do it.
Do you think we as parents, or whomever is a parent, need to sort of say and this is not just about young people, but focus on them for a moment. You know, you're, I don't know, 16, don't judge, 16 to 28-year-olds, maybe they don't have a car or whatever it might be, to say to them, by the way, I don't care if it's 3 or 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. If you're stuck, call me.
That's such an important. Yeah.
Anyone wants to get that call, don't they? Rather than you
I know
landing at the door with the cap coming off, you know?
I speak to my daughter and I say, do not get into a car with somebody who's intoxicated you believe may have been drinking early in the evening.
Yeah.
You know, you have to stop and think. It's no point saying, Asher, I'm not driving myself, I'll take a chance, I'm stuck for a lift, whatever. There is no reason to get into a car with somebody who's intoxicated. And yes, absolutely, as a parent, it's incumbent again upon us all as parents to tell our children, yes, we'll go and collect you if we have to, no matter what.
Yeah, we'll get you home one way or other.
And it may affect our own socialising at home even nowadays.
No,
but if that is the case, you have to be aware. I know at times there are an awful lot of taxis out there, but there can be a shortage of taxis. So we have to leave ourselves as parents to be in a position to collect our youngsters, if necessary, and bring them home safely.
Yeah, and John Joe, often we talk about, and it kind of, some of this, we say this over and over again, but you know what? I don't apologise for it. We'll keep doing it until we get to the person, because we don't know who we get through. We do get through to people, right? So hopefully we're making a difference. But obviously it's fatalities, which is the figure that's often talked about. It doesn't talk to the serious injury, the life-changing injury, the court cases, everything else that can flow on from that. You see that. The majority of calls you respond to aren't probably fatal, but you would see some awful situations where you know that person is going to have to live with the injuries sustained for the rest of their lives, potentially. And that's what we need to focus on as well, I think, as individuals.
Yeah, indeed, Greg. Like we hear the fatalities on the radios and the statistics in relation to fatalities, but for every one of them fatalities, there could be at least 2 or 3 serious road traffic accidents with patients left with head injuries or disabilities in relation to that after the accident. Me and Seamus just talked about this before we come in here. And that's a bigger number, and it goes unseen somewhat. And just adding to Seamus's point earlier in relation to the piece of ringing home and that there, pre-planning really takes the spur of the moment decisions out of it and nearly takes that. So even if it is a little bit awkward, I know some of it going Christmas nights out, but have it pre-planned, your route home, and somebody's going to pick you up or something like that there. But yeah, indeed, the devastation that can be left behind by where there's not a fatality is, and that goes on for people, the rest of people's lives living with disabilities and that there, and it leaves serious consequences behind it.
Drink and drugs. I think, particularly drugs, but certainly drink, that we have to understand how it affects us. You can't really drink and drive at all anymore. You know, people remember the old don't slipper into fifth and that stuff. Bottom line is you don't want any drink on you at all if you are driving. And people will be tempted to drive the next day, and there are checkpoints out there. You know, there's a lot of conversations been had about them in the past, but you just have to stumble across the one, and that's that. But that's getting caught. It's not about getting caught really as such. It should be about, am I fit to drive? Should I be driving? And I think there's not a lot of understanding out there about how drugs work on the system and how long they stay in the system, Seamus.
Well, I don't want to get into the minutiae of drug driving,
yeah.
but there has been an increase in people being stopped for drug driving in daytime hours. You know, that's very, very obvious over the last few years. So even whether it's, apart from drugs, even drink can stay in your system for a considerable amount of time. And I'm well aware of cases where people who've been drinking the night before and had no interaction with drugs other than alcohol ended up being over the limit the next morning. So it's again just appealing to people to think about it. Don't take it for granted you're going to be sober and fit to drive in the morning time. Factor that into your planning as well for the night before.
And road conditions are our responsibility as well too. Obviously we can talk about surface water and potholes and what have you, but that being said, we know the roads for the most part, and it kind of is our responsibility to make sure that we're driving at an appropriate speed. No one wants in any state, so it's our call. Like.
It goes back to appropriate speed at all times. It's such an important issue that people think, the speed limit's 100 kilometres an hour or 80 kilometres an hour or whatever. But especially at this time of year, never mind the weather. Even when it's dark, we should be driving slower when it's dark than in daylight. You know, roads are affected by water and by ice at this time of year. We just have to take cognizance of that at all times.
So, the message is kind of clear. If you're a pedestrian, don't walk on the road in dark clothes on the wrong side of the road. You know, have a light, have high vis on. Don't get into a car drunk or on drugs or with someone drunk or on drugs. Don't get into a car that you suspect someone driving has drink or drugs on them. Don't overload vehicles. They're not built to carry multiples of people. It's just to reset ourselves to think about the common sense stuff, John Joe.
Yeah, we've been at many accidents throughout the years, myself and Seamus both. And I would say what you've talked about there wasn't one accident that some element of that, them incidents has come into it, unfortunately, and probably ended up then being the root cause of a fatality or a serious injury at them accidents. So yeah, that's the main message in all of this. And I know we're like a broken record repeating it, but it is what's happening out there. So that's why, hence why we
were going to talk about a road safety thing. I can't remember exactly what it was, but we didn't want to talk about it when there had been a serious collision because it would be insensitive to the families. And it got to the point where we had to defer it 3 or 4 times because things, serious instances were happening. But anyway, we did discuss it. It's very important to note 172 people have lost their lives so far this year, which doesn't actually talk to the absolute devastation far beyond that, Seamus.
In terms of fatalities on roads in Donegal in particular this year, and sadly we've had 9 people who've lost their lives in Donegal this year. Now, so often I've been here and throwing out statistics on fatalities and serious injuries and whatever. But if I may take a moment just to remember each of those people who lost their lives this year in Donegal. That's Eileen Kennedy, Rebecca Brown, Conor McGinley, David McLaughlin, Mary Borland, Ronan Wilson, Arnold White, Alana Harkin and Thomas Gallagher. Now God be good to all those people. They all lost their lives on the roads in Donegal this year. 9 families who will be devastated this Christmas. And it happens this Christmas and every Christmas beforehand. And I don't want to tie in directly anything to do with the message we're given here today. But again, these people, the names are all in the public domain, and it's only right today that we should remember them and I think name them. Again, we don't want any more fatalities on roads. We don't want any more serious injuries on the road. And again, it goes back to the message that I keep reiterating. Do not be taking drink and drugs and getting into your car and driving. Slow down to an appropriate speed. Wear your seatbelt and don't be using any devices which will distract you when driving.
I'm going to leave it at that, actually, because it's such a powerful point. We'll leave it there. Inspector Seamus McGonigal, head of the Roads Policing Unit in Donegal, thank you. John Joe McGowan, Chief Ambulance Officer with the HSE Ambulance Service based in the West, thank you both very much for calling in, and just we hope and pray that the message gets through, and we just hope it does. Okay, back with a goodbye after these.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny, with all your perfume and aftershave presents this Christmas delivered to your door, or order online and collect in store. Visit mcgees.ie.
Connolly's Volkswagen Letterkenny, your only Volkswagen passenger and commercials dealer for Donegal. Order your 241 Volkswagen today. Get a cheaper quote. We will beat any quote on any new Volkswagen model. T's and C's apply. For more information, call our sales team today on 074 9122 333 or see our full range at connellys.ie.
To help with the cost of heating your home during the winter months, the fuel allowance scheme is now available. This allowance is paid at a rate of €33 a week for 28 weeks. To find out more and check your eligibility, visit gov.ie/fuel allowance. The quickest and easiest way to apply is online at mywelfare.ie. One payment per house.